What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. This is the aftermath. This is our weekly therapy session now with Tottenham Hotspur. With We Are Tottenham TV. Arsenal 2, Tottenham 1. Another Emirates no-show. And you know what? I'm starting to lose count with these bloody Emirates no-shows. You're looking at the past, 10 years? I think we've turned up there like once or twice. And this was another example of that. It was just a really pathetic performance for the most part, in my opinion. You know, in the moment that we scored, I think that we were probably having our best period in the game. We had a few chances from set pieces, Kulusevski, and that Son chance. But apart from that, I think we failed to... That
was the only period of the game, really.
Yeah, and we failed to do anything to put them under any sort of pressure. Arsenal definitely came into this with... maybe a bit of extra incentive and motivation from the night before with Liverpool and Nottingham Forest both dropping points, and Spurs just couldn't match their energy levels. We couldn't match anything. They just had more desire and they just wanted it a lot more. So many passive performances from the Tottenham players. Ange Postecoglou called it unacceptable after the game, and he's completely right. Unacceptable to put in performances like that, and some of the players on show on a consistent basis now. And players like Lucas Bergwijn, Archie Gray, 18 years of age, never played in a North London derby before. It seemed like they got what it meant to play in a North London derby. But you look at some of the seasoned pros like the Basumas and players like that, they just didn't turn up. They just didn't turn up yesterday, and this is becoming too much of a recurring theme. You look at the Arsenal players, right? You look at players like Gabriel. Gabriel knows exactly what it means to play in this kind of game, and he showed it yesterday. He was brilliant. Players like Lewis Skelly coming up from the ranks, he knows exactly what it means. Players like Martin Odegaard, who I thought, bled for the shirt yesterday. Declan Rice, they've got players that know exactly what this kind of game means to the fan base. And judging on yesterday's performance, I don't know if you can say the same thing about the Spurs players.
It wasn't anywhere near good enough. There was a lack of intensity, a lack of aggression. You shouldn't need to find that extra motivation to be up for a North London derby, and we just weren't at the races yesterday. I think especially in a weird way it was more on the ball than off the ball where I really found the problem. I thought off the ball we had also problems. Obviously, I think if you look especially the second goal, how that came about was like absolutely shocking. But I thought in a weird way, when you really notice it when there's like a lack of that kind of intensity on the ball, when you're playing passes to players into feet and you've got Arsenal players just more willing to get in there first and just put that challenge in or be aggressive and just shove you off the ball and have that kind of willingness to get there first and put themselves on the front foot. I feel like, when we're passing the ball to players into feet, into midfield, and they're like waiting for the ball to come to them, and they're like half-heartedly trying to shield the ball away from Arsenal players, and Arsenal are just at maximum intensity, maximum aggression, and they're just going full force into these duels and these challenges and just coming up every single time, and we're just so weak on the ball, and we're so easy to get the ball off. And especially in that final third, we absolutely lacked any sort of fight and aggression to kind of challenge these Arsenal players to win our individual battles. And Arsenal were winning the first balls, winning the second balls, and that's a lot of people made fun of like Arteta. You'd look back at that documentary, and there's that famous bit in it when he goes, when I lose a duel, I'm upset, and when we have to win those duels. That's exactly what they were doing yesterday. That's exactly what they were concentrating on, winning those duels, and we were coming out second best time after time after time. And off the ball, I think we kind of we were definitely forced backwards. We were reverted into a kind of a lot of the ball into a low block. And I thought in a weird way, when Arsenal had settled possession and when Arsenal were kind of trying to break us down, they didn't actually offer very much. I think Arsenal, when they were hurting us, is when we had the ball in their third and they're winning the ball in transition, and then bam, they were kind of beating us on the break. And then that's when they had a few chances. That's obviously how they got their second goal. That's probably, they had a couple of good chances in the second half. That's how they got it. It was in the transition when we were piling players forward. It was, look, when you go into this game at the North London Derby, the Emirates, I don't think it's any surprise that, especially first 20 minutes, they're going to put it on us. I said before the game, like Arsenal this season have been quite, in some games, especially when you look back at the game like at the Tottenham Stadium early in the season, they approach a few games, being very solid, pragmatic, and kind of giving up possession. I never thought they were going to do that in this game. I knew they were going to come out flying. I knew they were going to, looking at our back line and looking at the current state of our team, they were going to come out and absolutely go for us, and they were going to high press, and they were not going to wait for us in this game. They were not going to play like they did in the Tottenham Stadium. They were going to come for us. And so I thought in the first 20 minutes, as much as I wasn't happy with what I was seeing, I kind of knew that would be the situation. We were going to have to kind of ride out the storm, and we were kind of going to have to be very, very resolute. And I thought for the first 20 minutes, as much as I wasn't happy that we weren't, kind of hurting them at all, I kind of knew that was you were going to have to ride out the storm for the first 20 minutes, and I accepted it. And I thought we actually did ride out that storm fairly well in that first 20 minutes, as much as I wasn't happy with we weren't able to do anything. But then, obviously, as you said, we got a few chances. Solanke had a brilliant opportunity. It wasn't for a Gabriel unbelievable interception. That could have been a goal. And that was actually from a brilliant ball from Jed Spence. So I don't know if you've seen it back. It was on Match of the Day. But Spence does a beautiful cross with the outside of his boot to Solanke in the middle. And if it wasn't for an unbelievable last-ditch challenge from Gabriel, that could have been a goal. Then Decky has a chance. And obviously, we do take the lead through Son, a bit of luck. It was obviously against the run of play. But I thought at that point, we did well to ride out the storm. And then we obviously had a few chances and we took one. So I thought first 25 minutes was kind of going to plan a bit. And then after that bit, we just completely reverted to when you're 1-0 up in this situation, that's exactly where we want to be, because that Arsenal have to commit more players forward. They have to force the issue a lot. And that's exactly the situation you want to be on, because as soon as Arsenal revert into that stage where they're being pragmatic, and they've got the best defence in the league, let's be honest. They've got unbelievable defenders at centre-back. They've got unbelievable defensive midfielders as well. It's going to be extremely difficult if you once they're ahead to kind of hurt them. And so once we're 1-0 up, that's the situation we want to be in, where can we keep asking questions once we're 1-0 up? And I thought we were dreadful as soon as we took the lead. We just allowed the pressure to continue. We allowed the pressure to build. And look, it was a bit of luck on Arsenal's part, but when you allow that pressure to build on our side, you just keep giving them corners, keep giving them the ascendancy, something was likely to go against us. And that's exactly what happened, to be honest. And as much as they got lucky because it wasn't a corner, and as well from the corner they also got luck because it goes in off Dragusin, off Solanke, and it's an unfortunate goal, but that's a consequence of the kind of pressure we allowed to build on us, and then we crumbled from that point. The second goal was an absolute joke, and from that point on we failed. And then once they have the lead, we just couldn't lay a glove on them.
Yeah, and after going to, you can't go 1-0. You're 1-0 up going into the last 5 minutes of the second half, right? Of the first half. And everyone in that stadium's like, just hold on, just hold on, just hold on. Not only did we not hold on, but we go down. We concede 2 goals in the space of 4 minutes at the back end of the first half. And everything. That second goal was such a shit show. Bissouma, man, what the hell is Bissouma doing? Like, it's not the first time we've seen that from Bissouma this season as well. Like, he's got the ball. He's got, I think, what was the goal? Which was it's against Chelsea, when he gave away the penalty. It was very similar to that kind of situation. He has the ball. He's got a runner on his left hand side with Jed Spence. Jed Spence passed it to him. All he has to do is play the 1-2 because Spence has carried on his run. Just play that 1-2, and that goal does not happen. It's the most frustrating thing. He's got Sarr to his right as well. He's got so many options, but he hangs on the ball for too long. He gets bodied off the ball, and then they go up the other end and score. And the passive defending of picking up your men in that moment as well is just absolutely shocking. And Kinski's got to be doing better with the shot as well. So I mean, it was just a shit show all round. But Bissouma cannot be losing the ball in that position so easily. Yeah. There was no need for it. No need for it whatsoever, and I'm getting sick and tired of Bissouma doing these kind of things in games, and we all give him, so much praise when he performs well, but these performances and these moments in games come around way too often for a player like Yves Bissouma. He should be coming into the prime of his career right now. And it's a far cry from it. Far cry.
He gives the ball away way too much. Way too much. Even at his best moments last season, he would still have moments where he would give the ball away and lose concentration, but he would make up for it with some really good play on the ball. And but unfortunately, those moments are becoming too few and far between for him, and he's way too inconsistent at this point. He's supposed to be a leader in the team. He's one of the more experienced players. You've got people like Bergvall in the middle who are just completely overshadowing him when it comes to his respect for the ball in possession and his care for the ball. He doesn't lose it as sloppily as Basuma, and he's all coming up against the same players, and Basuma is continuously making these mistakes in scenarios where you just shouldn't be doing it. But it wasn't just him. I thought Sarr for that second goal was an absolute joke. We're in trouble here. Trossard's on the left hand side. He's running towards the goal. Sarr's just jogging there, waiting for Trossard to enter the penalty area. He's waiting for Dragoshin to come over. But that's Sarr's man. He's got to be in full sprint. He's got to be noticing there's absolute danger here, Sarr. I don't know what he's thinking, just jogging back in position.
But what's going on with him at the moment?
I don't understand it. Why is he just jogging there? Why is he not completely noticing the danger and sprinting there and waiting for Dragoshin to come across? Dragoshin should be sticking in position in centre-back, and Sarr should be the one sprinting a full pelt. He shouldn't be just jogging there waiting for Dragoshin to go out of position and allowing that shot to come in. I think that's completely unacceptable. It's not like Trossard's the fastest player in the league. Sarr's easily got enough pace to catch up with him, and I thought that was unacceptable. And then, I'm sorry to say, Kinski, he lets the ball roll over his hand. He goes one-handed. It's weak. And this is what we were saying before the game. As much as I've been delighted with what I've seen in the first two games, and even in this game, I know he got caught on the ball. He maybe got caught dawdling. Maybe he was guilty of being too confident on the ball on a couple of occasions in this one. But I thought by and large he was dealing with the crosses quite well. He was coming for corner. He was being confident what you need to do against Arsenal. But I thought obviously the goal they scored, he was fairly weak for it. He got caught under the ball, and obviously look, a bit of luck went for Arsenal, but he got caught under the ball for that corner. And then for the goal, it's weak. It's weak. It's a weak hand. He should be stopping that. I think he could even go with it with two hands. I don't think it's the best strike from Trossard, as much as it's a decent effort. I don't think it's the best strike from him, and I think Vicario saves that. I think he should be saving that. And from a shot-stopping point of view, there have definitely been some things I've seen even before he joined, when I've been looking at his kind of compilations, and also he had a kind of dodgy moment against Liverpool where he let the ball squirm under his arms, but luckily it didn't cost him. And then that moment wasn't great at all. He should be saving that. And so look, as much as Kinski's brilliant on the ball, and I think even in this game, I know he maybe was too overconfident at some points. I still think he showed his value on the ball. Clearly, he's still a very young keeper, and he's got some improving to do on his shot stopping, because that just wasn't good enough. He should be stopping that. And again, if you go in at halftime at 1-1 as opposed to 2-1 down, again it changes the dynamic of that second half, in my opinion, because Arsenal still have to go for that second goal. And when they had that second goal, they could just sit on that, and they found it very easy to sit on that second goal in that second half. And that last 5 minutes really cost us, I think, because again, if we go in at halftime 1-0, I think as much as we weren't great in that first half, you give the team credit for riding out the storm and being resolute, but you can't give the team credit for doing that because we crumbled and we went in at halftime 2-1. But I do have a bit of sympathy just because it wasn't a corner, and the goal, it wasn't as if like it wasn't a corner, but you have to defend it better. Like, it wasn't a corner, and then Dragoshin wins the header, and it bounces off Solanke. Like, they had nothing to do with that goal, really, Arsenal. It was just complete luck.
Yeah,
so
but I
feel sorry for them at that point.
But I do think the way Dragoshin headed it back, he headed it in the direction of Kinski, right? That's where he was heading it to. And he was forced to do that because of the aggression of Gabriel at the back post. So they did have something to do with it, because Gabriel was the one that put the pressure on Dragoshin that forced him into making an error. Yeah,
they put pressure on him, but at the end of the day, they didn't touch the ball in that. It was a good delivery from Rice, fair play, but it literally bounces off Dragoshin, bounces off Solanke, and it goes in. So, and it wasn't a corner, so the whole thing was a whole big slice of luck. But you earn your own luck in this game, and that's reality.
Yeah, Arsenal completely deserved the win yesterday. Like, we didn't play, and Arsenal dominated us for pretty much the whole game, apart from like a 5-minute spell in the first half. They dominated us we could barely get out, and when we did, we had no quality to sort of break them down. Saliba and Gabriel were rocks at the back. I mean, we got a tiny bit of spare change out of Saliba once or twice, but look, the reality is we were nowhere near good enough. The energy levels nowhere near good enough. You know, you need to find that bit extra, particularly in a game like this when you're up against it, when you're facing that crowd at the Emirates, you know, who love to beat us. And we did nothing to pull ourselves into that game at all, ever. And when we were in the lead, it was just due to a massive slice of luck. You're saying like their goal was a slice of luck. Well, our goal was a slice of luck as well. And whatever excuses we want to make about, you know, it wasn't a corner, it was an own goal, this, that, they completely deserved it yesterday. So there's no excuses for what happened on the pitch. It's just, you know, a little bit of slice of luck for the goal that they scored, but they could have scored many more goals than they did. That's the reality.
Not disagreeing with you. I do think their forward line, a bit similar to how they've been in recent games, was lacking quality, to be honest, I thought, from Arsenal. I thought, actually, that front three was very poor, actually, I thought, from Arsenal. I know Trossard scored, but I thought Sterling was poor. I thought Trossard was poor throughout a lot of the game. And I thought Havertz was really poor. Where they really won the game was in midfield and defence. I thought that's where they really won the game. I thought Odegaard, Rice and Partey ran the show for large parts. I thought the back line completely. I thought Lewis Skelly had a brilliant game. I thought Gabriel and Saliba completely dominated Solanke on the pitch as well. He literally couldn't get anything from them, especially aerially. Really struggled to win any sort of duels, because we did go long to him quite a bit. Again, I see people complain like, oh, you know, we've got Solanke up there, why don't we go long to him? We did, and he just couldn't win anything out from Gabriel and Saliba. And I thought Son didn't trouble Timber at all. Raya didn't really have a save to make. He had one from Kulusevski, but that was pretty much the only save he had to make throughout the whole game.
Every time we went long to Solanke, didn't we? Gabriel was just there like a rash, bang, bang, bang.
And that's what you as well. Every time we gave the ball to Decky or Johnson, Lewis Skelly is there, just straight away, being very aggressive, very intense, and getting to the ball first and putting Arsenal on the attack.
I think the only player of ours that was aggressive and intense was Lucas Bergvall. Everyone else was pretty much way too passive. And look, I had this conversation with you last week about Decky, right? He had to play half an hour in the Tamworth game, which I thought was ridiculous in itself. But this guy and Solanke, to be honest, are just both running on empty at the moment. And I get playing Solanke because he's our only striker with Richarlison coming back. But Kulusevski is just not really adding much at the moment, and we need him fit. Because he's been our best player this season by far, and we need him to kind of regain those energy levels that he had in the opening 3 quarters of the season that we've seen so far. But right now, what we're seeing from Dejan Kulusevski is a player that's trying really hard, but running on complete empty at the moment. And he needs to be taken out the firing line, because we're going to ruin his season. We really are, because I think he improved a little bit in the second half yesterday. But apart from that, I thought, again, another really poor display because of the energy levels, because he can't dominate teams like he has been doing pretty much all season. And he's just got nothing left in the tank to give Kulusevski, and Maddison was on the bench. Why not start Maddison, put Kulusevski on the bench, and bring him on later in the game with a bit more energy levels? I just don't get
starting Johnson.
Yeah, fine. And I said in the predicted lineup that I want to see Kulusevski on the right, but that was mainly just because I wanted that physicality, but he's not bringing that physicality at the moment. He's just got nothing left in the tank. And I was saying in the build-up to the game last week, I said to you very clearly, I think Kulusevski should not be starting the North London derby. And I think yesterday proved that.
I don't think he was good. I don't think much changes if Johnson starts and we bring on Decky, in my opinion. But I think he wasn't
great. At least it's someone with a bit of energy levels, though.
I mean, he had the energy levels, Johnson, in that second half. It didn't change. But I mean, we started to dominate the ball, but we still couldn't break them down. We still couldn't really create any good quality chances. But the thing is, right, even if it's not going to make an impact in this particular game, it's going to make an impact for us in the future, because we need Kulusevski to have a rest. Yeah, I think we
need him to have a rest.
Continue to carry us like he has been. He's been carrying us throughout the whole season, and now he's struggling to do so in the last few games. 100%, he's not in the same form he was. His form has taken a big dip, and that needs to be. I don't know why. Maybe it's because he's playing more on the right recently, but I don't know what it is. But he's definitely taken a big dip in his form. Maybe he's losing that extra bit. I mean, he's been unbelievable throughout the whole season. He had an unbelievable mentality, but maybe for him, it's hard for him to keep putting like unbelievable performance after unbelievable performance, and we're still not getting the results. At some point,
I think we've run him into the ground. I think he's just tired.
Maybe, and he's probably played a lot of the minutes, maybe that as well. But I think psychologically, when you're putting in 8s and 9s and 10s out of 10s every week, and we're losing games, still go like every single week, it must be hard mentally to keep at it every single time and keep that your standards as high as they are when we keep losing games. He needs help. I think he needs other players to step up. Absolutely, he needs other players to step up in recent weeks. It can't be just him, and I feel like for a lot of the season it has been just him who's been absolutely consistent, and people have flirted out of in and out of consistency, and there's probably as well he's been running to the ground as well. Him and Solanke are pretty much playing every minute of most games. I think that's a contributing factor. I think there's a lot going into it for his dip in form, and I think other players really need to step up at the moment, and the other midfielders like Basuma, Sarr's also had a dip in form. Maddison's come on and not done anything, and I know I've been one of the defenders of him, but recently as well he's just not been at it. He's not doing much. At least before he was doing consistently, at least getting some goal contributions, but recently, the past 4 or 5 games, I don't know how many goal contributions he's had. I can't think of too many. So I think he needs to be doing a lot more in recent games. I think the front three, I have to say, the wingers, man. I know Decky started on the wing. Son, I'm sorry, he's just not doing enough. He's not doing enough. I think the whole point of our system is basically the whole reason why our fullbacks invert is to get the wingers in certain situations where they can run at fullbacks and they can really take the game and create space and create opportunities. And I'm sorry, they're not doing enough. They are not doing enough when they get those opportunities. They are getting ample opportunity to show their quality. I wouldn't necessarily say a lot of time, maybe yesterday, but in general over the past few games and yesterday as well, they had opportunities to run at their fullback, create problems, ask questions, and either they're not good enough or they're not confident enough or whatever it is, they're not doing the job. That's the bare facts of the matter. They're not doing the job of when they get in those situations to take on their fullback and ask questions of their fullback and really commit them. They're not doing it. They are not doing it. And when that happens, the whole system kind of breaks down because they lose the ball and all of a sudden we're put under pressure because there's a quick transition, and all of a sudden all our defence has to run back, all our defence has to go in a sprint, there's chaos, and the opposition can create chances from transition. So the fact that that's been neglected is one of the big failures of our transfer window, is one of the big failures of our season that hasn't been addressed. 100%. And the fact that we're sitting here halfway through January now and that still hasn't been addressed is a big failure of the recruitment, and a big failure that hasn't been addressed, because that's a major issue right now, that these wingers are not doing their jobs. And yes, they get goal contributions. Yes, in front of goal they can be decent, but where we really need them consistently is facing their fullback and be able to take them on and cause them problems and keep the ball in either wing corners or whatever, and they're not, and create chances. They're not doing it. They are not doing it anywhere near consistent enough, and that's a big problem for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree. I completely agree with everything you just said there. I mean, the recruitment and the speed of which we bring in players and the holes that we've just left in the squad. Clear neglect of what we're trying to do this season, and it's hurting us week in, week out. No doubt about it. I mean, you're looking at the fullbacks as well. I thought Pedro Porro just kept getting caught high up the pitch. Trossard was having a bit of a field day with the amount of space he was having on that side. Luckily, they don't have as much quality in those areas. Otherwise, this could have been an annihilation in terms of the scoreline yesterday. And Pedro Porro, granted, he's been playing, being overplayed exactly like Dejan Kulusevski is this season, but the difference is Dejan Kulusevski was our best player for 3/4 of the season, and Pedro Porro, he never really got going this season. I think he's had a poor season all in all. He's had a couple of good performances here and there, don't get me wrong, but I think majority of the time he's not been playing well at all this season, and he's not giving us what we need on the ball, which is his speciality on a consistent basis, especially yesterday. And off the ball, he's just getting caught in no man's land way too often. Way too often. How many times do teams target us on that side? It seems like every single week teams just target us down our right-hand side, and they've seen so much joy. And I think yesterday was no different. I
think it's instruction, though, from Ange. I think he's clearly, because I don't think Spence goes forward as much, and I think same with the doggy. I don't think he goes as forward as much as Porro does. I think it must be instruction that he's given a bit more license, and for the goal, I know he gets caught, but it's not his fault. You know, he's in his position, probably he's been told to be in, and Basuma loses the ball in the middle of the park, and all of a sudden he's going to be caught out, obviously.
So why the hell doesn't Ange do something then? Why doesn't he do something to counteract this when it's a clear instruction from every single team that we play against to target our right-hand side? And then he does nothing to counteract it at all. So why doesn't Ange change something in that aspect?
In some games he has been asking Porro to play a bit deeper, but in this game, clearly he wanted him to bomb forward because that's the position he was in when the goal went in. He was clearly high up the pitch. He was in the Arsenal's half. And Basuma ends up losing the ball in a stupid position, and then he's going to be caught. If you lose the position there, then that's a risk you play. Obviously, it's high risk, and we know that. I do think it's definitely. If you look at, I've been looking at his average positions over the course of the season. Definitely, at the beginning of the season, he was a lot higher than he has been in the last few weeks. He's definitely been a bit further back the last few weeks. But yesterday, he was caught up the pitch.
Yesterday, his average position was pretty much on the halfway line.
Yeah, he was a lot higher. That's what I'm saying. Yesterday, he was definitely high up the pitch. I don't blame him specifically for the goal, but I do think, he's being caught out way too much, 100%. And I do think that's instruction. I don't think it's just him saying, I'm not going to defend. I do think clearly because he's better on the ball than Doggy and Spence, he's given a bit more license to get forward. But the reality is the best bit of play from a fullback going forward was Spence with that ball to Solanke. Brilliant ball, the outside of his foot, by the way. But I still also think Spence is definitely struggling, not defensively, but I do think on the ball. I know he put that brilliant ball in, but he is struggling getting forward because every time I've said it, he gets forward and he keeps having to chop back on his right foot, and it stops all the angles when he's going for overlaps or underlaps. Also, especially in possession, I think in settled possession as well, it's way too predictable, and I think teams are reading it, and that's why if you even look at the goal we conceded. The second goal, it comes from Spence being feeling like he has to come inside because he wants to be on his right foot, and instead of maybe going on the outside to Son, he goes inside to Basuma, and as much as Basuma shouldn't be losing the ball, he does put him in trouble with that ball inside. So I think again it's kind of like teams are kind of waiting for Spence to come inside a lot of that time, and he doesn't seem comfortable when he's on the ball. I feel like when he's on the left too much, and look, we don't have anyone else right now, so, and I don't think. Again, I'm not saying he's bad or he's doing a bad job, because I actually thought Spence did well yesterday. But I do think him being on that left-hand side in possession is definitely hurting us for sure. I do feel that.
I mean, I said this to you yesterday in the post-match reaction that we did, and I've been thinking about it a lot. And I'm looking at it like the players that were stepping up in pre-season. We always said, "Oh yeah, we can't really read too much into it because it's pre-season." But I feel like now it's become more evident as well. Like these season pros that we've got, like the Poros and the Basumas, and who stepped up for us in pre-season, right? It was Bergvall, it was Devine, it was Gray, it was Kulusevski, it was these kind of players, right? Because I think Sarr had a poor pre-season, didn't he? I think Basuma, I think all these kind of players who's in our ideal starting 11, what we saw at the beginning of the season, all were pretty poor in pre-season, and you got the second half, the kids came on and we looked really good. And you're looking at it right now, the only players that are performing real consistently for us this season is Kulusevski, apart from in recent weeks when I think he's been overplayed. Bergvall, he's performing since he's worked his way into the team. He's been so consistent for us. He's been our best player. And Archie Gray, he's been so consistent for us. And all the other players, it's just hit and miss from all of them, week in, week out. And it's just boggles me. And maybe what we saw in pre-season, we should have trusted what we saw in pre-season a bit more, and trusted these players in Gray and Bergvall a bit more in the start of the season, and maybe wouldn't be in the mess that we're in right now.
It's not easy to say that now. I don't know. Maybe. But I think Bergvall has taken his time to adjust, and maybe he needed that time. That's why we're seeing the performances we are, because we saw in Europa League, as much as he did well, I thought clearly, you saw Galatasaray away, you saw Ferencvaros, there was some games where he did struggle a bit, and he had to take time to adjust to this kind of level of football. And maybe the reason why he was seeing such consistent and good level performances is because we've given him that time to breathe and adjust instead of throwing him in the deep end. So I don't know if that's true, but clearly right now that is true. Gray and Bergvall are the ones really stepping up, and Spence even are the ones really stepping up.
And Spence is another one from pre-season.
Providing consistent performances. That's the truth right now, 100%. Maybe if we did it from the beginning of the season, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say we wouldn't be the mess we're in if we just started them every game from the beginning of the season. I don't know if that's true, but definitely right now I agree with you. They're the ones stepping up, and it's not good enough. We are senior pros who are senior in the dressing room. They're supposed to be leaders. There's a leadership group out there who are not doing their job. They're not providing the standards for this football team, and we're relying on youngsters, 18-year-olds right now, to provide those standards, and that should never be the case. It should never be the case that they should be the ones who are inconsistent, and our senior pros should be the ones who are providing consistent performances. And if they're let down by 18-year-olds, you can kind of accept that, because the 18-year-olds are, they're 18 and they should be inconsistent at that age. But the fact that they're the ones showing the standards for the team, and the senior pros are out there putting in middling performances and inconsistent performances and weak and lack of leadership, and not the ones showing for the ball, and not the ones being brave, and even just showing standards like care for the ball. Like Bergvall has 100% more care for the ball than Basuma does. Like when Bergvall gets the ball, it's like he's aware of his surroundings, he's aware of where the space is, he turns into it, he makes sure that his touch is absolutely spot on, he makes sure that when he's turning into space, he knows there's a player not there, he knows that he's not turning himself into trouble, he knows he's not going to lose the ball. When Basuma does it, it's like he doesn't have a care in the world. It's like he's turning blind. It's like he doesn't have care for the ball. That should never be the case. How can you be an experienced pro and you've got an 18-year-old and he's got more care for the ball than you do? He's got more responsibility when he's on the ball than you do. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's an absolute joke. I think if we're going to talk about the few positives, I thought in the second half, we actually had a second half midfield of Bergvall, Kulusevski and Maddison. And I actually thought, considering that was our midfield three, you go into the game at the Emirates, and Ange obviously started the game with Basuma Sarr and Bergvall, because he said we needed legs in the middle and stuff like that. And we actually had Bergvall, Maddison and Kulusevski, and we were able to kind of dominate the ball a bit, and we weren't actually. And I actually thought, the point being, I actually thought we competed well in the middle with those three, which is and with Bergvall sitting in the 6 against Arsenal, right? You would have thought, hypothetically, that could potentially be a recipe for disaster, and we could be not be able to compete in that middle with those three, because you look at that's a very attacking midfield three, and you think, how are we going to compete in the middle? And I actually thought we competed in the middle fairly well, considering that was our midfield in the second half, which was a bit of a nice surprise. And the fact that Bergvall played in the 6, away at Arsenal in that second half, I thought he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant in that 6, and that was one of the few positives I thought coming away from that game, was like, maybe we should just be starting Bergvall in the 6 from now on, because if you can do that at the Emirates, and he started in the 6 against Newcastle, I think, didn't he, for that game? I think obviously he started, I think, in the 8 against Liverpool, but he's now performed against Newcastle, Liverpool and Arsenal's midfield to unbelievable standards. So this guy has to be undroppable, and I think we've got to consider him being the 6 for the short term right now.
Why not? Basuma ain't covering himself in glory. Bentancur, every time he comes back, he seems to either get injured or suspended whenever he comes back, and no sign of consistency in terms of, he needs a run of games to get that consistent level back in. So Bergvall is the best shot. We all said we needed a 6 to come in the summer. We were having these arguments, don't you? You were saying, who can we get that's better than... It's hard to get a player that's better than Basuma and Bentancur. I mean, I'm sorry, but with the levels that Basuma's showing on a consistent basis, how is it hard to get a player that's better than him? Bergvall's come in, an 18-year-old kid from Sweden, and he's showing better consistent levels than Basuma at the moment. So we need a proper 6 to come in, whether it be in January or the summer. And we said that last season. That's just more evidence of neglect within this squad. I'm sorry, Basuma's been a flop. He has been a flop since joining us. He's had 2 poor seasons. He had a good first 10 games of last season and a few good games this season, and that's it. That is literally it. And I'm so fed up of watching him, because you just don't know what you're going to get. You literally don't know what you're going to get from him. And even when in the good performances that he has, still this careless lack of sense of wanting the ball and keeping the ball. I'm really fed up of Basuma. And I think we need to do our best to move him on this summer. I really believe that.
You can't rely on him. That's the reality. We know when he's at his best, he's a very good player, but he just can't be relied on. There's too many times, especially in crucial moments. It seems as though, as well, whenever he makes a mistake, it costs us. We concede a goal from it. And it's always in a stupid position. And look, As much as I really like him when he's at his best, and I think he's a fine central midfielder, the reality is he's been proven now. You just can't rely on him in the big moments. He has lapses of concentration. He loses his man too many times. He loses the ball in dangerous situations. And it keeps costing us, especially in big games. It just keeps costing us.
We're not going to do what it needs, though. We know we're not going to do what it needs to bring in a top player. You look at Arsenal, right? The way they handle their business. They need a monster midfielder to come in, 100 million slap on the table for Declan Rice, one of the best performing midfielders in the Premier League over the past couple of seasons at West Ham. You're looking at them now, they've got clear problems in the front line. They're going after Benjamin Sesko. They need extra body in midfield with Partey's contract running out. Go and splash out on Zubamendi. We're not going to do and go after these top players. So we're never going to be fighting at that top level that we so crave to do. You're talking about record profits and the stadium and how it shits out money, but yet we're still going to be going for these 18-year-olds or players that are. Have one good season behind them in the Premier League. We're never going to go for that top tier player.
We're never going to spend 100 million on a player for sure. We're not. That's the reality. That's what we have to accept right now. We're not going to spend 100 million on ice. Well, how we've shown we will spend 50 to 60 millions. We've done that with a few players now. If the players there,
but these players that we spend it on are literally just players with like one good season behind them. That's it. Like we don't go for like the players that have been doing it year in, year out. We just don't do that. We don't go for sure things. We go for things that that could do well. None of our signings, you're saying like, bang, yeah, that is an unbelievable signing. That's going to take us on to the next level.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that. The recruitment is definitely, especially since Andrew's come in, that's been the kind of. Clearly the model is trying to get value in the market in terms of getting players who we think are about to really come into their own, really explode, but not really players who have been consistently doing it over a number of years. That's definitely the model, I think, at the moment. And I think by and large, a lot of the players have been good, but they haven't been good enough to take us to that next level 100%. I think, as I've said, that right now, since Conte's come in, clearly the project or what the idea is to really lower the average age of the squad, completely freshen up the team, get a lot of younger players in that can really build together. And right now, we clearly lack that experience, and that's exactly what Andrew's been saying.
That was Arsenal's remit as well. When Arteta came in, they had an ageing squad with the likes of Lacazette and Aubameyang. And
it took them 3 years.
Yeah, but look at the way that they've handled their business as opposed to the way we've handled our business.
Yeah, but Rice was signed in Arteta's 5th season. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they were signing Rice-level players throughout the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but the year before...
In fact, they were doing something similar to us, signing similar level of players like Ben White, like who else they signed? I can't remember who else they've signed off the top of my head. But they were signing also, I'm saying, in terms of like value-wise, it was like all 40 to 50 million pound kind of signings, similar to what we're doing. And it wasn't until his, 5th season they went all out and got someone bigger like Declan Rice. So... they've clearly done a better job with it. And look at where we are in the league. But of course, they gave Arteta 3 years before they really started to push for big things. So we're obviously just over 18 months in now. We're dropping like a rock at the moment, no doubt about it. In terms of the overall picture with Ange, with every defeat, the pressure will build. I'm not blind to that. I know that. We can't continue to lose game after game after game and expect for him to stay in a job in impunity. There will be a sticking point where that will change. As much as I still believe I would keep him, and I still believe that's the right course of action for now. If I'm sitting here in a month's time and we've still lost every single game, I think there will have to be a conversation.
Regardless whether you think it's right to keep him in a job or not, like forget the Ange in, Ange out debate, like whether you think we should sack him now or end of this, whatever. Forget that for a second. Do you firmly believe that he is the right man to take this club forward for the foreseeable, for like the next 2 seasons?
I'm undecided on that. I think the jury's definitely out on that. Do I truly believe right now he's the man who's going to take, who's right for this project and to take us forward? I'm not convinced by it. I'm going to be honest. I don't know 100% that he's the guy. What I do know is that when we have played well, when we are on our game, and when the system is working, we are a very hard team to play against, and we play great football. The reality is that hasn't happened anywhere near enough this season, and especially over the last 2 months, we've barely seen that. To be honest, we've barely seen that kind of football at all. And regardless of the injuries to defenders, the fact that going forward, we haven't been able to see the kind of we've only seen it in fits and spurts in games. We haven't seen a consistent level of performance from our forward players and the midfielders is massively worrying, and it's a massive concern, and that has got to be something that Ange has got to be worried about. So 100%, I think there are big question marks whether, regardless of the injuries and regardless of whether I think we should sack him, there are big question marks whether he's the right man to lead us forward. But I also think it's right to give him till the end of the season and then assess it then. There's no point in giving it to an interim right now or whatever, because I just think the right course of action is to give them this cup run. I still believe we can be a good cup team, and also once we get players back and the fixture list is, if you look at the fixtures at the moment, in terms of the level of difficulty, they should ease a bit. Albeit every game right now is hard for us. There's no getting away from that as well. Hopefully we can start to turn our form around a bit and start getting results, and we have to go well in the cups. But I'm under no illusion with the league form it is right now. He kind of does have to win a cup. Otherwise, I don't see a future for him. I think that's what his kind of future depends on, because right now, the league form where it is, I think top half at the moment is going to be a struggle with the way we're going. Regardless of getting Europe via the league form, top half is going to be a struggle. That's the reality. That's what we have to face. Unless we go on a mad run of winning like 5-6 games in a row, top half is going to be a struggle. So he kind of has to do really well in the cups. And so if we're sitting here at the end of the season and we've gone out of all the cups and finishing bottom half, he's gone. I'm under no illusion of that. Under no illusion.
You're looking at it right now, 21 games played. Spurs have won 7, drawn 3, and lost 11 games. Lost 11 games at this stage of the season, which is absolutely dreadful. You're looking at the teams, right? West Ham have won the same amount of games as us. Fulham have won the same amount of games as us. Brentford have won more games than us. Bournemouth have won more games. Villa, Man City, all these teams, right? You're looking at the bottom half. Only Wolves, Leicester and Southampton have lost more games than us this season. That is nothing short of disgraceful. And at what stage are we actually, if this form carries on, we've got a genuine chance of being embroiled in a relegation battle this season.
If it carries on, 100%.
We got Everton away next. Very difficult game. Moyes' second home game, because he played at Villa last night.
Lost to Villa yesterday.
They lost to Villa 1-0. But if we lose that game, really hard game, by the way, Everton are only going to be, 4 points behind us?
Yeah.
4 points behind us. This is Everton, who have just sacked Sean Dyche. They're going to be 4 points behind us. You're looking at Wolves. Their form is changing a little bit. 2 wins in their last 5 games. Leicester have lost their last 5 games. Southampton have lost 4 out of their last 5 games. But we've also lost 4 out of the last 5 games. We've got the same form as Southampton right now.
Yeah.
Which is madness. We are literally getting clawed into a relegation battle where this was supposed to be the season to take us forward.
Correct. I look, at the moment it looks like that, and the form is what it is. There's no getting away. It's 1 win from 9. That's what the form is. That's the reality. That's clearly the form we're capable of, especially under the circumstances. That's completely not good enough. We should never be in this situation.
All the teams below us are getting better. Crystal Palace, they're capable of pulling off performance. Manchester United, they've just had good wins and good results over the past couple of weeks with Arsenal and Liverpool and stuff like that in the cups. Everton, with David Moyes, you expect them to take a bit of an uptick in form now with the new manager bounce. Ipswich, they're looking a bit better recently, and we're just dropping like a rock.
Yeah, and I firmly believe we're not going to be relegated. That's not going to happen. I'm willing to put any money on that. I fully believe we're not going to get relegated, and I
whether you think we're going to get relegated or not is kind of irrelevant. For us to be talking about this is embarrassing.
Of course it is. It is absolutely. It's an embarrassment that we're here, and I don't like looking at the league table, and I don't like the situation that we're in. I absolutely hate it. And we're banter FC at the moment. Absolutely. But I fully believe, I'm not saying we're going to turn and we're going to finish top 4 or anything. I fully believe we're not going to be embroiled in that. We will be back in the top half, I think, hopefully in a couple of months, regardless of whether you think that's a good thing or not. I do think we can start to win a few games soon with the fixture list turning and all these different things. I don't think this form is going to continue in impunity. I do think we'll start to get wins. If you look at all our defeats, I know yesterday, again, there's a lack of fight, and that's happened a few times. But again, all these defeats are very, very slim margins. A lot of them are fine margins. When you look at like Southampton and Wolves and all these other, and Everton, all these other clubs, a lot of their defeats have been heavy defeats. And a lot of them have been battering. It's not like we're being battered every week, most games are very, very fine margins, are very, very close calls. And I do think once we either get some signings or get some players back from injury, that will start to turn. We will start to get some more results in our favour. So I do think that will turn. And I also think that how we've been in the cups and how we do play does suit being a bit of a cup team, and does suit with us being up for it on our day. That can suit really going for those cups. So I still think, as much as how horrendous it looks like now and how bad it is, I still think, I'm not saying it will happen, I'm not saying this is guaranteed to happen or definitely will happen, but I still think there's a chance for us to do some stuff in the cups, and I do think results will turn enough in the league that we won't get embroiled in that relegation battle. But I do understand the fear right now, because the form is, I don't think, it's not like we don't deserve to be where we are, because we do, because that's the form we're in. And it's not like a lot of the results, especially recently, we haven't deserved a lot of those defeats, because we have deserved even the games, even though there have been fine margins, that the results have been deserved. There's very few games, especially in recent weeks. I think the beginning of the season was different, but in recent weeks, there's very few games where I come away with thinking we deserve more out of that game. 100%, and I agree with that. But the reality is they are still fine margins. And the reality is, in my opinion, that a few things going in our favour, and I do think results will start to turn. I'm not saying we're going to go on a massive upswing, but it will turn enough where I don't think it will be a conversation that whether we're in a relegation battle or not.
But I mean, that is the conversation right now, and we keep talking week by week. I think we've had these conversations pretty much since the Ipswich game, and you were going, yeah, we're 3 points off top four, we're 4 points off top four. Now top four is not. We can't even see top four with the binoculars, see it through the binoculars anymore. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's getting worse and worse and worse as the game weeks passes. We got Everton away next. If we lose to Everton, then we're in. I mean, our next two games, right, Everton and Leicester, two teams that are also fighting for relegation this year. What if we don't get any wins in these next two games? Like, where can you see us like turning into some sort of consistent form? Because I can't see with our fixture list. I can't see it. I just cannot see it.
We need players back, and we need signings. 100%. We need these things. We need these things in this window, and that's what I think. I think we can get wins. I don't think with this team that's just when things are right that we can't start getting wins on the board. I think we can, and even the defeats, as I've said, a lot of them are by very, very fine margins. So I do think that can turn. But right now, it's hard to see that with the form we're on and the situation we're in. And it's obviously Ange needs to be doing better. The senior players need to be doing more, and they need to be doing better. But I do think that can still turn. I really do.
I can't see it, man. I cannot see it turning.
In a relegation battle?
Well, right now we are.
No, I'm saying, do you think we will be?
Right now you are.
I know. I don't disagree with you, but do you think we will be?
I don't think we're going to get relegated, but I can't see us. I mean, I'm looking.
Think we're going to be in a relegation battle?
I don't, because I think Southampton, Leicester, and Wolves and Ipswich
I don't think we will.
Are that bad. But I don't think we're going to finish that any higher than we are right now. Like, we are destined to finish between 12th and 15th or something this season.
Potentially, and
regardless whether we're in a relegation battle or not, it's by the by. Like, being 12th to 15th, like, is sackable. The manager has there's no excuses for that. Injury problems or no injury problems, there is no excuses for the form that we're on right now.
It's not good enough. There's
no excuses. What excuses can anyone give to being level with 15th if Manchester United win today? There is no excuses for it whatsoever. So where can Ange turn right now?
He's got to not finish there. That's where he turns.
I can't see it. Like, tell me where this run of form is going to come from. When you're looking at all the teams around us improving, all the teams around us are improving.
We can improve,
but we're not. These teams are improving. We're not improving.
Yeah, because the situation hasn't changed from how it was 2 months ago. It's still the same situation.
But
we haven't changed the situation. We have to sign players and we have to get players back from injury.
No, the players that we still have at our disposal should be doing a lot better with, and the manager still should be doing a lot better. These injuries, yes, there should be a dip with the injuries that we have, and it's definitely you definitely have to take it into account. But the form that we're showing and the place that we are in the league, the injuries are just an excuse for that, because it should never be this bad.
Yeah, it should never be this bad, but that is the reason why we are there, in my opinion. I think if we hadn't had the situation we're in, we wouldn't be in it. We probably still wouldn't be where we want to be, but we wouldn't be in this situation where we're talking about, the 1 win in 9 and all these different things. We'd probably have like 3 or 4 wins in 9, and the situation would look a bit different. Not great, but it would still
sackable form though.
Yeah, but potentially. But again, as I've said, I think we can do something in the cups, and that's what he's going to have to hang his hat on. And I still believe once those players come, if we can get in that top 8 of the Europa League, if we can somehow get through that Carabao Cup game against Liverpool, then that's still there for us to achieve, and what we want to this season in that sense. And if we can get in that top 8, which means we're not going to be seeing Europa League football again until March, which means I don't know what, maybe we'll be in a very different momentum and a very different state, come March. A lot of defenders back, and we'll have, hopefully, and cross my fingers, I don't know this, but hopefully we'll have a signing or 2 more, to help this team right now. Then we could be a completely different situation. Right now, the situation hasn't changed for 2 months. We've still got the same injuries pretty much. Yes, we're starting to get a few players back, but by and large, we've still got the same injuries. We've had 1 signing with Kinski, which has helped us, but, wasn't going to help us enough to win a game at the EMIRATES, but that's his first Premier League game. So we're in the same situation. I said after the Bournemouth game. Right now, we're going to go through a lot of pain, and that hasn't changed because the situation hasn't changed. Nothing's changed, and that until that changes, we're going to go through more pain until the situation changes. That's how I'm seeing it. And I do think once the situation changes, we will see improvement in results-wise. I'm not saying we're going to win 10 games in a row. I'm saying we're not going to win another 1 in 9. That's my point. And that situation will start to change. And then, once that happens, in the Cups as well, when on our day, when we play in the Cups, we can be a very good team. We've shown that this season, that we can be a very good team in the Cups. So that's what we got to focus on right now. And we just got to make sure that the league form doesn't dip so much.
Why can we be very good in the Cups with this same team and the same problems and the same injury problems, but we can't buy a win in the league? Why is that?
I don't know. Because we completely up our game. Well, to be honest, in the Cups, obviously, since we've gone in the situation we are, obviously Man City, when we beat them, we had quite a strong team out there that day when we played very well. Then Man United, we did up our game when we were 3-0 up, but we still nearly chucked that away with Forster chucking 2 into his own net, and we got through that with pretty much a corner. But we played quite well for large parts in that game. And then the Liverpool game, we just played completely out of our skin. And Liverpool had an off day, and we played completely out of our skin. But I do still believe that in the Cups, we can be a very good team. And I think the way we play football would suit that, because we can overwhelm teams when we're on our game. But right now, we're struggling to do that, especially consistently in the league. We're really struggling to do that. Not only, I would go further, we're failing to do that. I think that's clear. We're completely failing to do that in the league.
We're failing beyond mortal measure. We're failing more than we've ever failed in probably the Premier League era at this stage of a season.
Yeah.
Literally, this is probably statistically, I don't know what the stats are, but this is probably statistically the worst that we've ever been at this stage of a season.
It's not the worst, but it's up there, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's up there.
From points per game, in terms of how many losses that we've taken at this stage of a season. I mean, everything is pointing to the fact how the team is being mismanaged, the players can't perform, and there's a clear motivational issue as well when we're talking about Premier League games. We just can't seem to turn up. We don't turn up, and there's extra motivations in the cup games. The players can seem to get themselves up for these games. But when you're talking about Premier League week in, week out, bread and butter to try and stay clear of the bloody relegation zone, we can't get ourselves up for any of these games. And that's got to go down to the manager. It's got to go down to the playing staff. It's got to go down to everyone involved. And it's just nowhere near good enough. And these injuries are just an excuse. That's all they are right now. It's an excuse, because regardless of injuries, we need to be doing a lot better than what we're doing right now. Like the players on the pitch yesterday were more than capable of putting in a better performance than they did yesterday. The players were more than capable of putting in a better performance at Tamworth. The players are more than capable of putting in a better performance against Wolves, Nottingham Forest, Liverpool 6-3. All these games, every single week. It's pretty much week in, week out. So I don't want to hear this excuse about injuries. And yeah, fine, it does have an impact, but it shouldn't be having as much of an impact that it's having right now. And
I think, look, I agree with you, but at the end of the day, this is definitely the hardest Premier League season, I think. I think you can see that throughout the Premier League. It's the hardest Premier League season, I think, in terms of quality, when the middle teams and a lot of these teams, the quality is clearly heightened. And I think this is the Premier League. It's so fine margins. Everything extremely fine margins. And when you have the situation you're in, those fine margins are going against us a lot of the time. Yes, we're not playing well in a lot of these games as well, but it's still coming down to fine margins. And I do think those fine margins can turn a bit once the situation for us changes. But once it's right now, it is what it is. It's difficult for it to change when it's so competitive, when you got all these teams improving. Even the top teams are struggling against these teams for a lot of games. But right now we're in this situation and we can't seem to get those fine margins at Rubber the Green going our way. And until that changes, I don't see this changing. But I do think that situation can and will change. I really believe that. I don't believe. We're probably going to be sitting here at the end of the season disappointed where we finish in the league, and maybe we've gone out in the cups in earlier than we expected. And if that happens, then we say, okay. When you say the situation, you envisage a situation changing this season. What does that look like? Doing very well in the cups, getting our players back, and the league season turning. Not to an extent where I don't think we're going to finish where we want to finish the season. I've accepted that because I think the last 2 months has completely derailed us, and now I think any chance of us finishing in the top 4 or 5.
Why should we accept that though? Why should we accept that?
You only accept it if we can win one of the trophies. If we win the Europa League, and we can, that could be acceptable.
What do you mean win the Europa League? How are we going to win the Europa League?
Because we're a good enough team in the cups, I think.
Do me a favour. We're not winning anything this season. How are we going to win anything this season? It's pure delusion.
I don't think so. I think
pure delusion to think that we're going to win anything this season.
Man United won
the way we're playing week in, week out.
We can win something.
The only way we win something if we get a hell of a slice of luck, and that does not happen to Tottenham Hotspur. Manchester United have a history of winning things year in, year out. You know, they win things in their worst seasons. They did it under even every manager since Fergie, apart from one, maybe have won something.
I'm not sitting here saying we are 100% winning something and we're guaranteed to win something. I'm just saying we can. I'm saying we can. The way we play, once we get players back, I think when we're playing these one-off games and off two-legged ties as well, especially even right now, the way we're losing games in the situation we are. But again, it's fine margins. But when we win games, we do tend to win by bigger margins. So that's perfect for a two-legged tie. And I think in the cups we have been good. Obviously 1-0 up at the moment against Liverpool, but obviously we have to go to Anfield. I'm just saying, once that situation changes, I do think we can go strong in the cups. I think the league, we just got to make sure that it's not completely embarrassing. We're dragged into relegation fight and get back in that top half and then whatever. And obviously that's not where we want to be. But given the situation we're in, if we can salvage that and then do something in the cups, that can, especially if we do something strong in the Europa League, that's still a season that can be acceptable. But right now it's hard to envisage that because that, as I've said, the situation hasn't changed for 2 months. We're still in that same situation. We've still got the same injuries. We've still got the same issues. We still haven't signed enough players, and that's the situation. So yes, it has to change 100%. But until it changes, we're going to keep playing like we are, I think.
All right. Well, that is our match review. Arsenal 2, Tottenham 1, which carries on embarrassing form against Arsenal, against our North London rivals. And even in like Spurs' worst times in the 90s and stuff, we used to get better results against Arsenal, which is crazy to think about. Was it 3 losses now on the spin at home to Arsenal, and 2 out of 3 away from home on the spin as well. So that is mad, actually. What was it? 5 losses in our last 6 against Arsenal.
Yep.
Nowhere near good enough. Nowhere near good enough. But that is our match review. Let's get into a couple of super chats before we move on. Oh, there's quite a few here. Alex, he's got an Arsenal badge there. He says, agree that second goal should not even take place. Do you think it's a waste of VAR not to have authority to overturn corners?
Yeah, I don't think VAR should be looking into every corner. I think it's probably right. I think the referee... The really frustrating thing for me is the referee is looking right at it. That you see the replay, he's literally looking at it. He sees that it goes off Trossard and he still gives a corner. I think it's just a massive error from him, which is all frustrating. But I don't agree that VAR should be getting involved in corners. Otherwise you're going to be looking at every corner. It's going to take years. So I don't see the point in that.
Real Nate 7 says, crazy how we have no leaders and we let Pierre go to Farmer just for Biss to put in these performances. Pierre has more fight and is better off the ball. I mean, it's not like Pierre was great last season for us, but to let Pierre go and not bring in a 6, I think that's pure negligent, just terrible mismanagement of the squad.
I think in terms of mentality-wise, obviously Bentancur's just been really unfortunate this season because he just can't seem to get any rhythm. I think when he has played, yes, he's also had some poor performances, and by and large, he's shown signs of getting back to his best. But every time he seems to get a rhythm, he gets a concussion or he has a suspension, or it just hasn't gone for him this season. Obviously, Basuma, we had last season. We know that his best he was good, but we couldn't get him there consistently. Obviously, we tried to do that this season, and again, the same things happened. So I think we know now we can't trust him. But again, we're not the only team that tried to get a 6, this perfect 6. You know, we look at the top of the league, and again, Liverpool tried to do that with Zubimendi. They didn't get him, and they decided not to sign anyone. They just converted Gravenberg. They found an internal solution. We tried to do the same. I think trying to find an internal solution with Basuma and Bentancur is not completely too much to ask, in my opinion. I think there was a potential that one of those two could do a job for us this season. Hasn't turned out that way, and I think we do need to improve. But I also think we probably wanted to improve in the summer as well, but we felt like we couldn't find a player that was better than them in the 6 that was gettable, we felt. But I think this summer has to be a big priority.
The Big D says, I blame a lot on Radu. Bad for the corner. He didn't put pressure on Trossard when he scored. So poor. It's actually getting worrying now for Ange. I mean, I felt for Radu a bit in the second goal because, I mean, he had to come storming out of position when he shouldn't have been the man he should have kept in a settled position, and Sarr should have been the one to come out and put pressure, to drop back and put pressure on Trossard, and then Radu was strung out of position.
Yeah. Well, either way, I definitely think it's on Sarr more because he's the midfielder, so he's got to be the one to protect his back line. But either way, one of you's got to make a decision to get out to him and do it decisively and quickly. Where's the communication? So I think, if Sarr's going to jog, then Dragusin does have to kind of just get out to him. But I definitely put a lot of the blame on Sarr there because he's jogging and he doesn't realise the danger when it's so obvious. So that really frustrated me. But then again, it wasn't even a great chance. Like, he shoots the ball from the tight angle on the left hand. It's not like it was like they had a one-on-one, you know what I mean? And Kinski's just got to do better as well. It's just all round a complete shit show from everyone. Yeah.
Michael Helban says Mason would be an upgrade on Ange at this rate.
I just disagree, but...
Howie says, Sim, we aren't signing players. Our injuries are bad, but nothing shows us Ange knows what he's doing. Sack him.
Well, in the current form, obviously it's hard to, defend in terms of what he's trying to do. I understand what he's trying to do. I understand how he's trying to play, and it's not working at all right now. We're losing every single game. But if we aren't going to sign any players, then we're hanging out to dry, in my opinion.
Scorpion fan for life, member for 44 months. Big up to you. Says, Sim, cups are papering over the cracks. Look at the form.
Yeah, I mean, Cups are keeping him in a job. That's the truth. If it wasn't for the Carabao Cup, he'd probably be gone by now. That is the truth.
So you think if we lose to Liverpool, then he'll be gone?
No. We play there in March. So let's say we might be on a 4-game winning run.
We play there Feb.
Sorry, we play them in the beginning of Feb. How many games have we got between them?
Before the Liverpool game, we got Everton, Hoffenheim, Leicester, Elfsborg and Brentford away.
So I don't know what the results are going to be. Obviously between now and then.
How many points do you reckon we're getting out of Everton away, Leicester at home and Brentford away?
Hopefully over the next 2 games 4 points, I would say.
What, 3 games 4 points?
No, over the next 2 games.
I said 3. Everton away, Leicester at home, Brentford away.
Yeah, probably 4 points.
I think 4's the max, the absolute max we're going to get, and we'll be lucky to get that the way we're playing at the moment. I can't see us doing anything at Everton, and I can't see us doing anything at Brentford, to be honest. Leicester's the one where, I mean, if we don't get 3 points in that Leicester game, then what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah, agreed. I think we can get 4 points.
Michael Hellman says, I usually win things in my second season with a clown emoji. Clivey Baby says
But he's
that...
still in all the cups, so he hasn't completely been disproven there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for now.
Yeah, but he's done well, and it's not like we've done bad. It's not like we've been, apart from the Coventry game, it's not like we've been totally lucky to get through. You know what I mean?
We've done very well in the Carabao Cup. FA Cup, obviously, we struggled to beat a Tamworth side.
Yeah, true.
And the Europa League, we started off very well, but we've got a realistic chance of not even finishing in that top 8 right now.
Yeah, well, we got 2 very winnable games, so.
Clivey Baby saying the North London derby is becoming a one-sided and the easiest derby. It's not, you know what, you're absolutely spot on. Probably an Arsenal fan now. He is an Arsenal fan, but he's absolutely spot on. It's one of the most one-sided derbies that we're watching at the moment.
Yeah, we can't do anything at the moment. The last time we won was 2022 under Conte. We've lost every game bar that 2-2 draw last season at the Emirates.
Scorpion fan for life says, Ange has the players backing because they're young. Do you reckon that's the case?
Is it because they're young? I don't know. No, I mean, they're not all young. I don't know. I'm not in the dressing room. I don't know which players do back him totally and who doesn't. But is that a problem even? Just because they're young, they back him? I don't know. At what point is he making? If they had more standards, they wouldn't back him. Is that the point?
I don't know. And Emma says chicken sandwich, and that's it.
That's the best super chat of the day. I wouldn't mind one.
All right, let's move on and let's go into the player ratings. Starting off with Kinski, 5s all round for Kinski. I think, look, I think in the early stages he did really well with the corners. You know, they were pounding us with the set pieces and he was getting good fist to the majority of them. Did get tackled in those opening 20 minutes from Havertz and then he managed to gobble it up. He's got to be doing better from the goal, the second goal that we conceded, because it's just not good enough. Like, the ball pretty much just bounces over his arm. And look, that was a decisive moment in the game. That was the goal that won them the game. And Kinski's got to be doing better. But I think all in all, I think he did all right.
I think considering in terms of, for a young goalkeeper, this is probably the toughest it's going to get. You know, away at the Emirates, in a derby, physical team, pumping in the corners. In terms of like a game he'll have this season, I don't see it being much tougher for him. And then especially making your Premier League debut, it's going to be extremely tough. And yes, he did make some mistakes. He was too casual on the ball on a couple of occasions and got away with it. One of them, he had to dive at the ball to save the situation. The other one actually led to the Solanke chance, that one, but obviously Spence had to recover the situation on that front. But I thought from corners, he actually done really well for the majority of them. He came out, was positive, getting punches there. Don't think he claimed too many of them, but was just getting a fist on it and making sure that Arsenal weren't creating too many chances. But unfortunately, the one he didn't get to, they scored from. Again, a big slice of luck from Arsenal's point of view, but he didn't. He was kind of got bullied from that situation. And then the goal he conceded, and to be honest, it was the only time, if you think about it, he was really asked to make a save. That was the only time he was, because all the other chances Arsenal had, they missed. Really, they didn't really forced Kinski into too many saves. I think on the day they had 3 shots on target. They actually didn't have too many shots on target. So the one time he was made to make a save, it was poor and it was weak shot stopping. So that cost him. I still think I saw enough from him to be positive, but unfortunately the decisive moments were poor from him.
Yeah, the reality is I think Vicario saves that.
Yeah.
The second goal, Vicario saves that.
But I would also say, would Vicario have dealt with some of the other corners?
Probably not. Probably not.
So,
probably not.
You know, give and take.
Pedro Porro up next. 4s all round for Pedro. Caught in complete no man's land for the second goal that we did concede. Whether it's down to instruction from Ange or it's down to Pedro. I mean, this just keeps happening on that side. Teams target our right-hand side week in, week out, and Ange or the player do nothing to kind of counteract that or to change that situation. And, you know, apart from him hitting the post in pretty much the last kick of the game, I thought he offered little, next to nothing in the game for us.
Yeah, I think he struggled. I think when he was in one-on-one duels against Trossard, there was a couple of times. There was one time he got spun. And Trossard got into the penalty area, and I think nothing came of it. But obviously there was one moment there. But I think by and large he actually dealt 1-on-1 when he was in position with Trossard quite well. Obviously the corner he he won the goal kick off Trossard, and unfortunately the corner went against him, so he got unlucky in that instance. He got caught out for the goal, but again, that's more to do with Bissouma being caught out in position he was in rather than Porro being out of position, because we were in possession. So he was actually in position when he was out in possession, but because Bissouma got caught in a dangerous position, he got caught out of possession. So out of position, sorry. So I don't really put that blame on him. I think it's more of the setup and Bissouma himself. But I thought going forward, that's one of his biggest assets. And I know he hit the post, but that was never going in, really, to be honest. Unless Raya really gets caught out, I don't think that's ever going in. And I think his deliveries were okay from corners, but obviously we got a goal from one, but I don't think there's much to do with his delivery per se. I think he struggled a lot of the time, defensively as well, in terms of positioning. I thought when he was in position, I thought he got his tackles in, but he's just caught out of position too much, so gave him a 4.
Dragashin up next, 5s all round for Radu. He did make a good block with his back. I can't remember who was
from
on
Havertz.
Havertz, yeah, that took the shot. But
from Trossard, actually.
Was it Trossard?
Yeah,
no, I can't remember who it was. But yeah, I mean, for the corner that they did score, he's the one that gets his head on it and he heads it into Solanke and it goes in the back of the net. He did kind of beat Gabriel in the air, but I think Gabriel was just so aggressive up against him. He kind of forced Radu into making a bit of an error there. But yeah, I mean, he did okay at times, but yeah, he's just not providing what we need, particularly on the ball.
Yeah, it was a weird one. I thought first half, apart from the goal, he was actually looking a bit better, maybe because we were sitting a bit deeper and we obviously were out of possession for a lot of that half. So I thought he did quite a few good bits defensively. But then second half, I thought on the ball, once we were asked to put a bit more pressure on them, then he struggled a bit. Once he was defending a bit higher and obviously they were catching us on the counter and leaving us a bit exposed, then I thought he started to struggle a bit. So when he was asked to do a bit more defending, he did all right. But when he was asked to, be at centre-back in possession and put a bit more risk, then he started to struggle a bit more. And I found wanting in that second half. Yeah,
you can't help but think that when you're talking about profiles, right, he's just not the right profile for what Ange wants from a centre-back. That's just clear, and that's the reality.
Yeah, I think at the moment, look, again, he's still 22, he can grow, but I think as a profile, he's just not the right fit.
Yeah. Archie Gray up next. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 7. I thought he was one of the players on the pitch that did keep up their standards. Did come under pressure a couple of times, but look, I'm not going to fault Archie Gray and sit here and fault Archie Gray because I think he's trying so hard. An 18 centre midfielder playing at centre back against Arsenal at the Emirates. I think he's just keeping up those standards week in, week out, and he's one of our, if not our most consistent performer at the moment.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. I think it has to be put into context. I think he's doing a great job for an 18-year-old midfielder playing at centre-back. I don't think if this was a centre-back playing the way he is playing, we'd maybe be giving him the same praise or the same leeway. But I think on the ball, brilliant. Again, so composed. Literally nothing phases him, and he always looks to play the ball forward, and I think he's doing great credit. Defensively, did some good last-ditch defending, but I think positionally caught out a few times and got some things wrong, which it's to be expected. I'm not criticising him. I think he put in a decent display, and again, especially for the context, doing well. But I think, unfortunately, us playing as much as we're praising him, I do think, us playing him there is costing us at the moment. Not his fault, but I just think that's the situation we're in.
Jed Spence up next, 6s all round for Jed. And yeah, he was energetic on that side, getting up and down pretty well. He did lose the ball, though, in some key areas, and he had to get bailed out a couple of times. But look, he made that 1-2. Well, he made that pass to Bissouma on the inside, and he should have received the ball back, and maybe Spurs are on the attack there. But instead, obviously, Bissouma loses it, and we go and concede. But yeah, I felt most of their attacks did come down the other side. So I think Spence dealt with Sterling pretty well.
Yeah, Sterling was a bit anonymous, to be honest. I think defensively did really well. Again, I know it sounds weird because he did probably provide one of our best moments on the ball during the game, which was a brilliant run down the left and actually a perfect cross with the outside of his foot. Right, it was going to be right on Solanke's foot if it wasn't for a brilliant last-ditch challenge from Gabriel. So that was brilliant from Spence. But unfortunately, that was the only time he was able to do it during the game. And I do think in possession, the way he cuts inside all the time and doesn't use his left foot, always has to use his right foot, is actually kind of hampering us a bit in possession. Not his fault again, because he's playing that position. I understand it. So I'm not blaming him, but I do think that is the situation. But I think defensively was really good and provided one of our better moments on the ball. So decent performance from him.
Lucas Bergvall, Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8. He was the best player on the pitch for Spurs, hands down. He started the game in the 10, ended the game in the 6. Second half, he played in the 6, and I felt like he was just growing and growing as the game wore on. I thought he was a lot better in the 6 than he was in the 10. But in the second half, I mean, he was so influential to us. He was pretty much the only one in the midfield for us that was actually taking care of the ball, releasing the ball when it needed to be released, trying to spur us on to actually try and do something, but no one was really on his wavelength.
Yeah, I thought he was fantastic, especially in the second half, actually. I thought first half he competed and battled, but didn't really show for the ball too much as I would have liked, and I think struggled against that midfield 3. But once he moved to the 6, he was phenomenal. I thought his kind of ability on the ball to appreciate space, appreciate where players are, not play himself into trouble, always seemed to have time on the ball all the time. His energy is absolutely phenomenal.
He's got eyes at the back of his head.
The way he glides past players and the way he opens up space for himself, fantastic. And he's got quality on the ball, progressing the ball forward. His passing was fantastic. His energy levels defensively, it seems as though he provides as much defensively at the moment as the likes of Sarr and Basuma are providing, and he's got that quality on the ball. This guy's a talent. This guy is just a superstar in the making. He really looks like that, and I think he's developed so well throughout the season. Now we're seeing this Bergvall where we hope to see that we signed, and he's been absolutely phenomenal. Another really, really good performance, but I feel it did take him a bit of time in that first half to really get into the game, and I thought Partey, Rice and Odegaard, were getting the better of him, but I thought second half, considering he played the 6 that whole second half, and we didn't really get overrun too much in the middle in that second half, that's a real credit to him, and I thought shining light in this game.
Pape Matar, 3 for Sim, 4 for me. Got hauled off at half-time. He did take a booking, so maybe that was due to it. But, I mean, his performance level was pretty shocking. Embarrassing defending for the second goal that we did concede. And he just had no sort of impact. We know with Sarr what he usually brings is a lot of energy levels, and he just failed to bring that in this game. And it's a really hard one to take because I don't know what's going on with Sarr at the moment, but he was going through such a rich vein of form at one point during the season. He just seems to have dropped off massively, and he just can't seem to regain any sort of form.
Yeah, 100%. I think he was disappointing on the ball, just not showing for it. To be fair to him, a couple of moments in the first half where he was striding into the space and making Partey tracking back, and obviously he earned the corner for the goal we scored. So there was a couple of moments in the first half where he looked like he might really be causing Arsenal problems, but unfortunately it was literally a couple of moments and then really struggled. He didn't really take the game to Arsenal. I thought for the second goal he was pretty pathetic, to be honest. He should be absolutely full pelt towards Trossard and making sure that we're dealing with that situation, making sure he doesn't get the shot off. I thought he was lazy. I thought he was jogging. I thought too often he wasn't showing for the ball. He wasn't being brave. He wasn't winning enough of his individual moments on the ball to really put pressure on Arsenal, and I thought he was rightly hauled off at half-time. Just wasn't doing enough, and I thought again was kind of in a way showed up the fact that we played that second half of Bergvall, Maddison and Decky, and they probably did more off the ball than when we had supposed legs of Basuma, Sarr and Bergvall in the middle. So I think that was case in point there.
Basuma up next, 3s all round for Basuma, and after a couple of good games where we've all been praising him, it was a massive step in the wrong direction once again for Yves Basuma. Can't seem to find any sort of consistency, and this ain't a new thing. This has been going on pretty much since we signed him, to be honest, under a couple of different managers, and embarrassing how he just has no sort of care for the ball whatsoever. He had so many options to play it for when he gave the ball away for the second goal. He had the 1-2 with Spence, he had Sarr on the inside, and he just runs into trouble, loses the ball, and he's not even busting a gut to get back either. So I'm really, really disappointed with Yves Basuma, because you're looking at the midfield that started the game, Bergvall, Sarr and Basuma. He's supposed to be the one that's supposed to be leading that midfield. He's the one that's 27, 28 years of age. He should be coming into the prime of his career right now, and players like Bergvall have to carry the can for him. It's ridiculous, to be honest, and he got hooked at half-time, and quite rightly so.
Yeah, it's nowhere near good enough, and the reality is it's happened so many times now that we know we just can't trust him in these big games and these big moments to not lose concentration and not do something stupid to put us in trouble. And as you say, he's an experienced player. He's now 28 years of age. He should know, he should appreciate where players are on the pitch and the space. He should be scanning. He should be knowing where the players are and not play himself into trouble, not lose the ball in such a dangerous situation, especially as they've just got back in the game, Arsenal. Ridiculous moment from him. I thought off the ball, actually, by and large, nowhere near enough aggression from him, nowhere near enough tackles being made, nowhere near enough getting closer to these players. He just was second best to everything yesterday, and it was just one of these lackadaisical performances from Basuma. And again, Simdasar rightly hooked at half time, nowhere near enough in that middle, and probably in that middle is where we lost the game in that first half, and he was a big part of that.
Yeah. Moving on to Decky, Sim gives him a 4, I gave him a 5. Pretty much a very lackluster display from Decky. You can clearly see in the last 3 or 4 of his performances, very similar. His energy levels are not there. The physicality is not there. He did have a chance from the corner where he makes a really nice touch to make some space for himself, but Raya was equal to the shot. But apart from that, and a few nice touches in the second half, he was really ineffective, and he needs a rest. He needs a rest. The guy is clearly running on empty, and it's funny that ever since he said he doesn't get tired, he's been pretty much tired every single game since then.
Yeah. I thought didn't get anywhere near enough spare change out of Lewis Skelly. I thought Lewis Skelly bullied him, which should never be happening when he's a teenager up against Decky. I know he's not old, but he's a bit more experienced, and strength-wise one of his biggest assets. I thought he got bullied by Lewis Skelly in that right-hand side, and didn't really impact the game enough, apart from that one chance, which, to be fair, the way he took the chance in terms of the touch was really good, but the finish, he's got to be doing better and putting that past Ray, albeit it was on his right foot. I thought it was improved once he moved to the middle and started impacting the game a bit more, but unfortunately just didn't have the quality on the day to really pick the lock for Arsenal. And once Arsenal get in that shape, they're a formidable force to break down, and they showed it on the day, and we just weren't able to do it. I don't think it was absolutely horrendous, and it was, again, another poor performance from him, which carries on a bit of a theme in recent weeks. So it's not been good from Decky.
Next up is Dom Solanke, falls all round, another player that's just being overplayed at the moment, and I feel he's also running on empty a little bit, and he got bullied as well. I thought Gabriel shackled him so well throughout the game. Every time we decided to lump it up and go long to him, he couldn't make it stick. Those Arsenal defenders were on him like a rash, and he just couldn't get any spare change out of anyone, and I failed to remember anything really positive that he did do in the game.
Yeah, the only thing is he nearly got on the end of that Spence cross, but Gabriel beats him to it. There was one moment where Decky wins the ball half the pitch from Raya poor pass, and then gives it to Solanke, and he's got a chance to get the shot off, but it's too easily blocked, and Arsenal come away with it. He's just struggled to really battle with Gabriel and Saliba. And look, they are the two probably harder centre-backs to battle with in the Premier League, so it's not like it's a massive surprise, but Solanke's a big, strong guy, and at his physical best, he should at least be giving him a bit more trouble. I've seen him do it. I've seen him play for Bournemouth and give him a lot more trouble than he gave them yesterday. So disappointing from him, and just wasn't able to impact the game at all, really.
Sonny up next. Sim gives him a 4. I gave him a 6. I mean, probably a 5 is a better reflection. He did score, put us in the lead with a deflected shot. But I felt like in the first half, if anything was going to happen from an attacking perspective, it was going to come through Son. I thought he looked the more dangerous out of the three of our duo in a trio of Solanke, Kulusevski and Son. But that doesn't mean he played well, because he really didn't. And I just gave him a mark up for putting the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, nice goal. I know it got deflection, but obviously got the strike on, had to keep it low. It was a difficult volley to take, and he took the shot on and got the goal. But I thought, by and large, again, really didn't impact the game. I thought Timber had him in his pocket for large parts. I thought he struggled to really get some sort of impetus in the game. And it's more poor form, unfortunately. I know he got a goal, and to be fair, he's got a good record of the Emirates, and he carried that on. And at that point, we'd ridden out the storm and 1-1 up, and you think, okay, maybe we might start to put in a good performance here. But never happened, really. And then second half, again, rightly taken off. I thought Richarlison showed a lot more from when he was on the pitch than Sonny did from a lot of the game. So disappointing in my opinion, and we need more from him.
Yeah. And this is like a string of pretty much carbon copy performances, unfortunately. Brennan Johnson came on at half-time. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. Couldn't make any sort of impact out on that right-hand side. I thought he was shackled so well. And, just poor once again.
Again, comes off the bench, doesn't impact the game, really. A bit anonymous. And Lewis Skelly, again, just easily dealt with him. He's coming on against, I guess it's half-time, so I wouldn't call it tiring legs, but he's coming on to make an impact, to really try and ask different questions of that Arsenal backline. Just wasn't able to do it. Didn't even get on the ball too much.
He offered nothing. Yeah,
well, one thing I would say is I thought, in general possession, in a weird way, we were building up quite a bit through that side, and I thought he did all right in build-up. But once we got to the final third, it was just nonsense. It was just nowhere. And I thought, didn't offer anything really in that final third, which is where he earns his money.
Maddison, another player who came on at half-time. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. I mean, he offered a tiny bit more than Brennan Johnson, a few nice passes here and there, looking to get our moves going, but still pretty much offered nothing.
Yeah, I think he improved our in-possession play a bit, which is why we were able to keep a bit more possession. Obviously, Arsenal probably allowed us a bit more possession anyway, but I thought he was keeping possession a bit more and allowing us to try and ask different questions of Arsenal. But a few times he had moments to take a shot on from a decent position and declined to do so. There's a few times he could have made quicker decisions and just wasn't able to. A couple of times he got to the byline and his cross got cut out. At least he was trying different things, so I gave him a bit of credit for that, because before we didn't seem to be trying anything. But it just wasn't enough, and it just wasn't able to create anything of substance. And a player like Maddison, that's what he's in the team for those moments of magic, and he just wasn't able to do any of those.
And last of the playing staff, Richarlison, 6s all round for Rishi. Good to see him back. He came on with a bit of extra energy levels. You could see he actually really wanted to make something happen. Put in a few crosses, but just basically just gets marks for energy.
Yeah, I think he actually had a decent cameo. I thought they struggled to deal with him a bit more than the other players. I thought he was able to get a bit of separation. He was able to get some crosses in on that left-hand side and looked a bit fresher than Sonny did. But, of course, obviously nothing really happened. But I'm just giving it because I did think he looked a lot sharper. And when he was on the ball, he looked like there was a bit more potential there when he was on the pitch. There was that one moment, though, he does lose the ball in the middle of the park and Arsenal weren't on a counter, and that nearly put us in trouble. But apart from that, I actually thought it was a fairly decent cameo from Rishi, but not too much in it.
And last but not least, the manager, Ange Postecoglou. Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. What can I say about Ange? I thought, he lacks to see like that teams clearly target us week in, week out on the right-hand side. Doesn't seem to counteract it. Trossard had pretty much the freedom of his our right-hand side for pretty much the majority of time he was on the pitch, and Pedro Porro nowhere to be seen. And this is a weekly occurrence now. Well, I say now, it's pretty much been all season. A weekly occurrence where teams can just target us down that side and nothing is done about it from a tactical perspective. It's down to him. You got to get your players up for these kind of games. Particularly, you got to drum it into your players what a North London derby means to the fans, what it means to the club, and his record in North London derbies is absolutely abysmal. Played 4 now, lost 3, drawn 1. Probably one good performance out of the 3. And look, he's on the. He's got to be on the brink. He's got to be on the brink. I'm not going to sit here and call for the manager and whatever, but with the results that we're seeing, it's just nowhere near good enough. It's been nowhere near good enough for any Spurs team, even the Spurs team of the 90s, the results that we're showing at the moment. If Man United win tonight, we're level on points with 15th. We've got Everton coming up. We've got Leicester coming up. And, they're relegation 6-pointers at this point in time.
Yeah, it's the form we're on is embarrassing. How can you not get these players up for a North London derby in the situation that we're in and get them not being passive like they were in the opening? I mean, I get it, Arsenal always going to put it on you, and it's going to be difficult. They are still one of the best teams in the league, but there just was a lack of fight, a lack of aggression. You saw when United went to Anfield, those players were just up for it. And I know they got the draw, and even then they could have lost, but you could just see a difference in the mindset, how aggressive they were and how they just went for it. Spurs just lacked that. They lacked that that fire in their eyes yesterday. They lacked that aggression, and that was really, really concerning and really worrying. Obviously, I thought tactically, it's a weird one, because I thought in the first half, as much as we were second best, I mean, we were riding out the storm, and it wasn't for a bit of luck. And right at the end of the half, we might have been going into half time on 1-0 up, but at the end of the day, Ange prides himself for how we are on the ball and that aggression, that intensity, and that just wasn't there. And he knows that in that first half, and that's what he said. Second half, again, trying to break him down. We'll give him possession. We'll ask him. We had the ball, and Arsenal was saying, "What can you do to us?" And the answer was nothing. And he's got to take responsibility for that with how he's setting up the attacking and the patterns of play. And look, we need to change. We need to improve, because, as you say, the results are extremely bad, and we're getting dragged into this conversation about potential relegation, and that is unacceptable for a team like Tottenham and how much money we've spent and all that kind of stuff. So that absolutely needs to change, 100%. And I think look, you can see it on his face. You can see he knows that it needs to change, and that's the end of the story. If it doesn't change, then he will be gone. I do believe that if it doesn't change, but I do think they'll give him the time to change it.
Well, there you have it. That is our player ratings for the 2-1 defeat at Arsenal yesterday. Let's move on. Super chat here from the Hotspur Hood, and he said it's getting worse. He has to go. It's worse than gross. We didn't think it could get worse than gross, but it is worse than gross, with a lot better playing staff, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, everyone has better players, I think, at the moment, but that's my opinion. But yeah, it's extremely bad, 100%. It's extremely bad. It's an unacceptable position to be in, but we're there, and I just think we should give them that time to get the players in, get players back, and turn it around. I'm not saying I just don't believe it's going to turn around in a way that's acceptable, to be honest. But if he can turn it around in a sense where we just not make it completely embarrassing in the league, and then go for that and do something in the cups, then that's something to salvage. But
what is not completely embarrassing though? Like, I can't see, even if we go on a run of a few wins, it's still going to be embarrassing where we are. Like, anything below 7th or 8th is completely embarrassing.
It's embarrassing, but it wouldn't be, where we are now.
Well,
that's my point.
It's still really embarrassing though. Like, a team like us, with the players that we have at our disposal, injuries or no injuries, we should never be below 7th or 8th.
We shouldn't, but if we do finish 7th or 8th, and we do win the Europa League or something, then that's not a bad season. Unfortunately, that's the reality.
Yeah, two massive ifs there. But anyway, let's. What have we got next? We got takeaways.
Yeah.
We got takeaways. All right, let's move in and see what.
I sent them. I don't know if he's.
All right, let's go into reacts then. Let's go into reacts. Let's see how the internet did react to the game. Have you got that connected?
Let's read some more comments then, I guess.
You'll read some comments.
Sim, we were shit with our full squad. What makes you think it will change when they come back, my friend? My point is, we're a lot better than we are now with a full squad. And I think when we had a full squad, you could see at our best we were very good, because we battered some teams. We were having some big wins. I know we had some losses as well, but we were winning games, and we were a lot better than we are now. So I do think with a full squad, we can be. I'm not saying we're going to be like a perfect team.
But even with a full squad, we were losing way too many games.
We were losing too many, but it wasn't 1 win in 9, was it?
So just because it wasn't as bad as it is now, that makes it okay?
It's not. I mean, it's not okay.
Because it wasn't okay when we had a full squad. We had lost 6 or 7 games in the early stages of the season.
Yeah, but maybe that situation could have turned. But because the situation it's turned for the worse. But maybe it could have turned for the better in a different situation. In my opinion, I think so. Anyway, the way we were playing, I think, was a lot better. But after that situation, there was a possibility it could have turned for the better, but it unfortunately went the other way, and it turned to going much worse. That's my opinion.
Super chat.
My opinion is it wasn't destined to go to this form. That's what I just think, but that's where we are. Yeah,
I mean, look, I was saying to you at that time, there were worrying signs in our performances. The beginning stage, right at the beginning, the Leicester and the Newcastle game, we should have got more out of it. But then when we were losing and when we were putting in abject performances, and those performances were creeping in with our first choice 11 there without the injuries, and the injuries have just compounded, the worrying signs into irregularity.
Exactly. That's my point,
Brian Daigle with the super chat says, rest in peace Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Hello Tottenham Hotspur Business Club. We are not a football club anymore.
We are not a football club anymore. We earn a lot of money though.
Matthew Brissy says, how is it Ange's fault for players underperforming? What do you mean, how is it Ange's fault? Because he's the manager.
Yeah, he's the manager, 100%. He has to get the players up for it. And if they underperform... Look, I think players do have to take some certain responsibility. It can't be not on the players at all. But if there's a number of players who are underperforming, then it turns to the manager, 100%.
At the end of the day, the buck, I mean, it's always going to end with the manager.
Always does, yeah.
Daniel Levy in the super chats, and he says, Sim's vape has been filled with copium juice. I don't disagree with that. Sim's copium is higher than most, or you seem to cope with things a lot better than most.
Try to. It's hard. With each defeat, it gets harder and harder. But as I've said, when I said the situation was bad and we're going to go through a lot of pain, right? I said that to whenever it was against Bournemouth, and the situation just hasn't changed. It hasn't, and it's not because it just hasn't changed. We're in the same situation we were 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, we are. In terms of the personnel and squad-wise, we are.
We're in the same situation. What can we expect to get much better? Did we really expect to win yesterday?
I mean, talking to a lot of Spurs fans outside the crowd.
I was talking to all these Spurs fans. I thought they were deluded. A lot of people fans say we're going to win, we're going to get something. I thought the game actually went pretty much how I expected, or how I was worried it was going to go. When I said,
I mean, you predicted 2-2.
I did predict 2-2, but I predicted that I predicted
a win.
I predicted that we were going to. How it could go was that they're going to score from set pieces and we'll struggle to break them down. And even without Saka, that could still be the case.
You didn't expect us to put in as an abject performance as we did yesterday. No,
I was hoping to be more like the Liverpool game, where we were a bit more aggressive on the ball, 100%. But in terms of just barefaced how it played out, like in terms of they got the goal from the set piece and we had a bit of the ball in that second half and struggled to break them down. It's pretty much exactly how it went in the first game. Not too dissimilar.
I mean, it's just so hard to take with what's going on at Tottenham at the moment. It really is. And it's just like, with all the shit that we've had to go through since the sacking of Pochettino, it's literally never been so bad. And we've been through such bad runs of form. It's just like, it's hard for anyone to sit here and stick up for the manager. It really is.
Yeah. Well, we've had Kane bailing us out since Pochettino's come left, and now we don't have him anymore as that safety blanket, and this is what we're seeing.
Relegation battles we're talking about. Relegation battles. It's embarrassing. It really is. But look, let's go and see what 5 things we can learn from the game yesterday. And number 1 is Bergvall shines.
And this was a real, and I mean, I'm not going to call it coming of age because that was probably Liverpool, but again, a real continuation of what was a fantastic performance from Bergvall and what is some really consistent form from him. If you look at the stats, I think it says it all. 6 tackles on the day, 1 interception, 2 block shots, 5 clearances, 10 out of 14 duels won, 2 out of 3 dribbles completed as well. 37 out of 40 passes completed, 93% pass completion, 1 key pass on the day as well. I thought it was just a phenomenal midfield performance. Stepped up in the 6 in that second half as well. In what was, you consider playing him in that kind of important position that second half, and you think, are we going to get completely opened up and overrun? And I thought we didn't really in that second half. And I thought he really competed well. It's just another, if we're looking at positives, he was just a shining light yesterday in what was a real disappointing performance from Tottenham overall. And he continues to be that over the last few weeks. Yeah,
he's one that's keeping up his standard since, I can't remember which game it was, where he had that first kind of performance where we're like, all right, Bergvall's here. Maybe you can jog my memory, but
Bournemouth was
maybe it was the Bournemouth game. Yeah, maybe it was the Bournemouth game. But since then, he's just been growing and growing and in stature in the Spurs midfield, and he's kind of turning into a player where we can't take him out of the team at the moment.
No, he has to play every game. Yeah,
he's like one of the first names on the team sheet along with Archie Gray. Like, these two guys are proper standing up for the team. When you look at players like Yves Bissouma, you compare a player like Yves Bissouma to Bergvall, you don't really know what you're going to get week by week with Yves Bissouma, where with Bergvall, you're going to get a really hard-working display with a lot of quality to match it, and that's what we're seeing at the moment. Number 2 is more corner pain.
Yeah, and another corner we've conceded against Arsenal, and I think if you look it back over the last 2 seasons, in the last 4 North London derbies since Andrew's been here, I think the first one at the Emirates, we conceded a penalty from a corner when Romero handled the ball. We then at the North London derby at the Tottenham Stadium last season, that's 2 goals from a corner we conceded. So that's 3 in 2 games. One in the Tottenham Stadium again beginning of this season. Gabriel scores, that's 4 goals from corners. And then another one in this North London. So in the last 4 games, that's 5 goals from corners we conceded, which is mad. 5 goals from corners conceded against Arsenal in the last 4 games. And we just can't seem to know how to deal. I mean, it's really unlucky yesterday, because I thought actually we dealt with their corners really well by and large. And then the one they did score, first of all, wasn't a corner. And as well, it bounced off Dragoshin, then bounced off Solanke and went in. So it wasn't exactly like it was a massive... like how Arsenal did it, but it was a good delivery at the end of the day, and obviously Kinski got caught under the ball as well, and Gabriel was very aggressive against Dragoshin, so you make your own luck, I guess, is the point. But yeah, I mean, that's our 5th goal we've conceded from corners in the last 4 games against Arsenal, which is mad.
And look, they're the best set piece team in the league, and they show it against us in a regularity. I always felt coming into the game that was their best avenue to get goals against us. And I feel like if it wasn't for Kinski, if it was Vicario in goal, we probably would have conceded a lot more corners than we did yesterday. We did only concede 1, and there was a bit of luck about it. But, on the flip side as well, corners were our best avenues to actually get a goal yesterday. The 2 chances that we had, the Son goal and the Kulusevski chance in the first half, both came from corners.
Yeah.
So actually, like we were probably more of a threat from corners than they were yesterday.
In a weird way, except that, yeah, true.
Number 3 is Son's North London derby record.
So it wasn't a great day for Son yesterday, but he did score again at the Emirates, which actually makes it 4 in his last 4 at the Emirates. He's actually now 2nd in all-time North London derby goals, which is actually mad to think about, considering the amount of players like even Arsenal players who scored so many goals in North London derbies, and now Son sits 2nd in there. That's now also 10 goal contributions in North London derbies for him. So he really does have a good record in these games. But unfortunately, yesterday, apart from the goal, it was a very disappointing game from him, and he wasn't able to really hurt Arsenal apart from the goal. But it is impressive how regularly he does, contribute in this fixture.
Yeah, in terms of goals. But talk to me about points. You talk about Henry and Pires and all these.
He's won a few games in this fixture.
Probably nowhere near as many as Henry and Pires.
Well, when Son first came, he's probably won 3 or 4, I would say.
Yeah, and look at recently. I mean, Pires and Henry won regularly. Like, we haven't won for ages.
Yeah, but Son obviously been here for a while. He's won his fair share of North London derbies.
At the beginning, he won his fair share, but like I said, like of late, all these goals that we're talking about, how many points have we actually got in these games?
1.
Exactly. So,
well, obviously the one we beat them to top 4, he scored. But yeah, that's the reality. But he's still got a good record in them.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of how Spurs always show that Lamela goal as like highlights in the North London derby when he got sent off 5 minutes later and we lose the game. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, look, he can score as many as we want, but if it gets if it doesn't relate into points, then who the hell cares?
It's just his record in North London derbies is impressive.
Yeah. 4th is...
He's 2nd to Kane. He's still 6 behind Kane. In North London
Kane
derbies.
was just a monster. I mean, I miss those yearly penalties that he used to get at the Emirates.
Yeah, I know. We're definitely missing him at North London derbies, that's for sure.
4th takeaway is kept at arm's length.
Yeah, and as much as, in the second half, we tried to put it on them, and we actually had more possession than Arsenal in that second half. The stats just show we were just really nullified by Arsenal, and it was, in that sense, it was very disappointing. And defensively, the numbers weren't terrible, but offensively, It was our second lowest XG total of the season. Our lowest shots on target with I think only 2 shots on target on the game, our lowest of the season. Second least touches in the middle third of the season. Second least touches in the penalty area of the season as well. So Arsenal, especially as soon as they got ahead, I mean even in this first half as well, but I thought especially as they got ahead and we had more possession, we just couldn't touch them. We couldn't lay a glove on them. They found it too comfortable to defend against us, and the stats show it. They just kept us at arm's length.
Yep. And for the second time this season, they kept us at arm's length, because at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium we lost 1-0. We could barely lay a glove on them with all the possession and everything. This year, I mean, the game yesterday, we barely hurt them as well. Last season at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I mean, we made a bit of a rally in the second half, but barely laid a glove on them as well. At the Emirates last year, you know, we actually played well and we actually created chances, but Ange's record up against Arteta is nothing short of shameful. It really is shameful, and you really think, like, the more he manages against them, the more he could, like, figure out ways how to counteract and how to hurt them, but it seems to be getting worse.
To be fair, they are a better team.
They are a better team, yeah.
All the losses have been by 1 goal.
Yes, but they probably all could have been by more.
Maybe.
Particularly yesterday.
Yesterday, maybe. I think the other 2, maybe probably not.
Well, earlier on this season, I thought, yeah, it was probably 2 poor sides going up against each other. But look, I hate this thing, like, where you keep going on about, oh, we're only losing narrowly, it's only been by 1 goal. It doesn't matter whether it's been 1 goal or by 10 goals. We're still losing.
I mean, in terms of points-wise, it doesn't matter, but that's just reality. It's fine. It's not like we're getting battered. It's only 1 goal. There's only fine margins. That's the point. The point is, when I say that, the point is like, if you're losing every week by 3 or 4, right? You look at that and you think, how does that ever turn around? But if you're only losing very, very narrowly and it's very fine margins, that can then turn.
But it's not turning.
It's not turning at the moment, but it can. Is my point.
But it's not. It doesn't matter if it can, you know what I mean? Anything can happen. Anything can happen in this world, but it's not happening. So, I don't know, man. Like, how I don't understand any sort of, like, confidence or positivity to think that this can turn.
That's that's my point. I think it can turn. Again, because it's fine margins in the situation we're in, once that situation changes, those fine margins can also change. That's my point.
But as each loss goes, as each loss progresses, those, I mean, you're talking about fine margins within games, but the fine margins within the league is not fine margins anymore. That is a gargantuan gap.
That's not fine margins, but the games are fine margins. But yeah, the gap is, as I've said, it's derailed our season, this form, 100%. But anyway, it's not, this takeaway is not about the league form, but yeah. The next one is, though.
5th and final takeaway, and that is record losses.
Yeah, so it's our most losses ever at this stage in the Premier League season. It's not our worst points total, but it's our worst record for losses. Level with 98-99, 03-04 and 08-09. Funnily enough, in 98-99 we ended up winning a cup, and in 08-09 we actually also got to a Carabao Cup final, losing on penalties to United. So
that was the Ben Foster one.
That was the Ben Foster one. 03-04, I think we finished 14th in that season. So yeah, it's our. I think 08-09 we ended up finishing 8th on that occasion. So we didn't completely get in a relegation battle, but yeah, in those seasons is our is what we're level with. And mad, you know, one of them is in the 90s, which, you know how bad we were in the 90s.
So basically, history tells us in the Premier League, if Spurs want to compete in the cups and win a cup, we have to be terrible in the league.
Essentially.
Is that what we're saying?
That's who we are.
It's who we are, mate. It's who we are, mate. But it's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing what we're having to endure right now, where we are in the league, the points gap, and how we're just getting dragged deeper and deeper and deeper. Literally, by the end of today, Man United play Southampton at Old Trafford. If they win that game, we're level points on 15th. They
will win. They'll beat Southampton.
You know what I mean? Level points with 15th. Like, how is that okay? It's nowhere near okay. It's embarrassing what we're going through at the moment, and something needs to change. And I don't know what that something is, because even if we change a manager, I don't know what needs to change, but something needs to change. But the situation can't change. You can change manager, you can change manager, but the situation won't change. That's what a wise man once said.
Yeah, that's also true. Unless you change how you've been doing things, and that's, you know, by sticking with him, allowing him to ride it out. That's the only way That's the only way forward I see at the moment.
Yeah, and even that's a far cry of anything changing, because I just can't see it. But
I think it will. I think it will change.
But when you say it changing, like, what does that even look like?
I've said it before.
2 wins? 2 wins out of 9 instead of 1?
No.
3 wins
more.
out of 9 instead of 1?
More wins. Not 1. More wins out of 9 for 100%. And also doing well
2
on the
wins
cups.
out of 9.
And also doing well on the cups, which we continue to do. And that's what we've got to do.
All right. That is the 5 takeaways. That is the 5 things that we did learn from the game. We're going to move into reacts in a second. So if you can bring up X, we'll see how the internet did react to the game yesterday. I'm not sure how much there is going to be, but we'll see. And first up is Spurs Express with tweet from quotes from Dejan Kulusevski, and he says, everyone must take responsibility, the people above us, the players, the managers, nobody can hide in the corner. And yep,
another player calling out the board, really.
Yeah, and more players need to keep calling out the board, because they're the ultimate reason why we're in this mess.
It's mad though, the first time it's happened, really, apart from Rose.
Yeah. And it should be happening on a more regularity.
There is no reason. You got Romero, you got Son.
Yep.
I mean, obviously they're not direct. I mean, this is fairly direct. Everyone must take. I mean, not many players mention, the people above us. Quite significant.
Players are starting to wake up and speak out, and that's what we need. We need more of it.
Yeah, they need to put pressure. We need to be doing our job this window, and that's getting the players to help us, because we desperately need it.
Halfway through January, we've brought in a keeper, fair enough, but we need a lot more than that. We need a lot more than that to salvage anything from this season. Next up is THFC Himothy. Says, I saw Ben from WeAreTottenhamTV talk about pre-season compared to now, and he was spot on. The youngsters, the second half team, always looked way better than the first team in the first half. We all said that the first team would get back on it. They never did. The youngsters are better.
Well, I mean, right now they are 100%. Berg, Val, Gray are the only ones really stepping up for the team and actually playing with confidence and, being leaders on the pitch. The senior players have got a lot to answer for, 100%. I completely agree with that.
Spurs Express bringing us facts from Squawker, saying this is Tottenham's joint most losses at this stage in a single campaign in this competition. Also 11 in 97-98, 03-04 and 08-09. Yeah. 11 losses in 21 league games so far this season is dreadful.
Yeah, it's shocking.
Spurs Watch just says, my word, 21 games, 7 wins, 3 draws, 11 losses, 43 goals, 32 conceded, plus 11 goal difference. Has anyone been in this situation with plus 11 goal difference?
We must be the only team to ever be in this position with a plus 11 goal difference. Classic Spurs.
Spurs Watch says, Tottenham have now lost more games than Ipswich Town in the Premier League this season. And that is mad. That is mad. How the hell have we lost more than Ipswich, who only just recorded their 2nd win of the season?
It's crazy. It is crazy the amount of losses we've had. It's nuts.
This next one's Squawker, which we just spoke about, so we'll go on to the next one. This is Lily White Rose bringing up tweets from some Arsenal fans yesterday, which I found quite interesting. This one says, by the way, Archie Gray is going straight to the top. The next one says, Archie Gray is a brilliant footballer. He's definitely going a long way. This one says, Archie Gray will be on the plane to USA next year. And this next one, shout out to Archie Gray. Shame he's one of them, but he's some player.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to ignore the talent of Archie at the moment, because he's such a brilliant talent. I really think he's stepping up so well considering the circumstances, and he's got an unbelievable head on his shoulders. I think you see that every game, and yeah, brilliant stuff from him.
Christian says 110 million spent on Richarlison and Brennan Johnson, 110 million spent on 2 players who are at teams fighting for survival. That's why Tottenham are where they are. You recruit from the bottom half of the table, and eventually that's where you'll end up.
See, I don't agree with that. I'll tell you why, because if we were to decide Cunha, he's bottom half of the table. Does that mean he's not good enough?
I do think, I get what you're saying, but I mean, if you only recruit from these kind of level of teams, then maybe that's where you end up. If you sprinkle one or here, like the top players that are going really far in the game, Are Richarlison and Brennan Johnson and these kind of players that?
No, but I also think it's
Like a Declan Rice, like a Cunha? Are these players on the same level?
We're not going to be competing for these kind of players. The top players right now, the way we are, they're not going to come to us. The current, so you have to be clever. You have to be smart about it.
But is that clever?
What?
Spending 110 million on Richarlison and Brendan Johnson?
Maybe not those who specifically, but it's not because they're in those teams that is not clever. I think that argument is not true, in my opinion. You can argue the actual player, Richarlison and Brennan, that's fair enough. But just saying because they play for bottom half teams, that means you'll become one. I just don't agree with that. I think there is value to be had in these teams, and I think there is value. There is players that were very good there in these teams.
Apollo brings us a clip of Kinski yesterday, this back heel.
This guy, balls of steel. That was after probably all the mishaps he had in the first half. So He goes to show it just doesn't let it affect him. He's still doing a back heel inside his own box after that happened. And that's even after as well. He does a back heel, right? I think most keepers, when that ball bobbles up against his hand, they panic and they probably just boot it out or something. But he still has the calmness after that happens to back heel it and find a man. I mean, it's mental. The balls are still on this guy.
Next up, Squawker. Most Premier League goals scored in North London derbies. Harry Kane 14, Adebayor and Son joint on 8, Pires 7, Bale, Henry and Van Persie on 5. So Sonny has moved in to joint second in goals scored in the North London derby.
Yeah, fair play. Look, he does usually score and provide in this fixture, so fair play to him. Done it again.
StatMuse says Son Heung-min scores 27th goal versus the Big Six in the Premier League. Only 2 current players have more, and that is Mo Salah on 48 and Jamie Vardy on 44.
Oh, Vardy, mad. Always turns up in those big games.
He does, yeah.
But fair play to Sonny.
Carly on you Spurs saying this is what led to the goal, and it was just never a corner.
It's so obviously not a corner though. Like I don't understand how
we all saw it. We all saw it.
Yeah,
as
but
well.
He's looking right at it. Look at the ref. He's actually looking right at it. So how can you not see that touch of Trossard? It just doesn't make any sense.
Look, at the end of the day,
no sense.
At the end of the day, regardless of decisions here, decisions there, you reap what you sow. And we definitely did that yesterday.
No, I don't disagree. But on the flip side as well, this game was fine margins, and one of the big avenues that Arsenal were getting joy was from corners. And so to give him a corner just before half time, when it could have been a goal kick, if we go into half time 1-0 as opposed to how it went, I don't think they go 2-1 up if that corner's a goal kick potentially. So that does change the game state completely.
StatMuse says current players with the most in North London derby goals. Son on 7, Bukayo Saka on 3. Has Saka only scored 3 North London derby goals?
Well, one of them was at the stadium early in the last season. And then he got a brace. He got 3 last year because he got a brace, didn't he? 1 deflection.
And that was the only time he scored against us.
Was it an own goal from Romero?
Own goal Romero.
And then he got a penalty. And then he got 1 in the Tottenham stadium last year. Or did he get 2?
I always thought Saka scored more.
I think he's got a few assists. He keeps taking the corners for the bloody goals.
That's true. Thing. Apollo says Basuma just play Spence first time, bro.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God, just come on, Basuma, easy pass.
Aina saying putting out a missing poster for Yang Min Hyuk because we saw him on the bench at Liverpool. We were having those conversations before the Liverpool game. You go, I've got a sneaky feeling Yang Min Hyuk's gonna have a big set, have a part to play in the game today. Didn't come on and hasn't been in a squad since.
I think obviously Mikey Moore's returned since then, so maybe that he's taken his spot. But it's a shame because maybe there was a bit because it looked like before the Liverpool game, he was in training and there were videos of him scoring goals in training, and then he was on the bench. I'm like, okay, maybe he's impressing, but it seems as though he's still got a lot of work to do.
Spurs papers saying Postecoglou has lost 11 of 21 games. That's a loss every 1.9 games. That's worse than Spurs relegation in 76-77. It's the worst since 34-35, 90 years ago. Only one season in Spurs' entire history is worse, and that is 1912-13.
I mean, it's not good reading, that's for sure.
Like, when you read that, I mean... Yeah, you can talk about painful rebuilds and stuff like that, but are you saying that we haven't had a rebuild in that long? Like, we've had rebuilds, you know what I mean? So, I mean, why should this rebuild be any more painful than all the other rebuilds that we've had?
I don't know, but maybe it is.
But why?
Don't know. I can't answer that question. I don't know why it's more painful, or maybe It's hard. It's hard to know why exactly. Maybe he's not doing a good enough job, Ange. Obviously, it comes to him as well. But I think there's also circumstances to why the form has been that bad. But we shouldn't be in the situation we are now. But I don't think we should be sacking him right now over it.
Sam W says we have been strategically atrocious from top down post Poch. Ange's arrival significantly semblance of
Signified.
What is all these long words? I don't even know what any of these means. Signified a semblance of coherency, vision for the first time in years. So forgive me for backing him, but right now we are reaping what we've sowed for the last 5 years.
And that's he says. That's in response to he says 13th feels like a direction the club has been heading in if it wasn't for Kane and Son.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that.
Which I do think is true. And I don't think we've done well anywhere near enough succession planning and all these different things. And they've been carrying us for a while. And now we're not allowing them to carry us anymore. And now we are where we are. We shouldn't be in 13th though. I do believe that. But I also do believe that is true. Like, that's where we've kind of been heading. If it wasn't for Kane and Son, it would just kept us afloat in those years. But I also don't believe the squad right now that what it is should be in this position.
Where do you think like the squad right now in terms of where we should be? Where should we be?
We should be in that top 6 conversation for sure. I said before the season, top 4. I probably underestimated how much everyone else around has improved, because clearly you got all these middle teams now who have massively improved, and you got to give credit to that. But I still think we should be in that top 6 conversation for sure. We should not be where we are.
Yeah. Mr. Black says losing to a team 10 places higher than us in the league with 5 of our starting 11 missing away, with getting an equaliser through a corner they shouldn't have had. That's where you're drawing the line, and that's in response to Talk THFC. That should really be it for you, Ange. It won't be though. I mean, this tweet from Mr. Black, I mean, he's talking about that game in isolation, about losing to Arsenal, which is fair enough. But I mean, you've got to look at everything involved. You're looking at where we are in the league, how we're keeping dropping week by week. The stats that we spoke about before, like the worst in this bloody century. You know what I mean? It's just like everything all in all together. I mean, when is the line going to be drawn? Where does he draw the line? Where do you draw the line? Where does everyone draw the line? Like, lines need to be drawn at some point.
Yeah, as I've said, I think obviously if this form, if we lose the next 2 games, then a serious conversation does have to be had, because that's, I mean, we're already in this situation now. But once we get players back and this form continues and we go out all the cups and we're still in the same situation in the league in terms of just losing, and then we're out of all the cups. And we actually need like a firefighter manager to save the situation. Then I think that's when it really changes for me. But right now,
Deitch is available.
Yeah, right now I don't think we're there yet. We're not in Deitch territory just yet. But if it ever does get there, then we do need to have a serious conversation.
Would you say if we lose to Everton and Leicester, we're in Deitch territory?
No, I still wouldn't say that. We're not in Deitch territory there.
Kane from the lane saying it is crazy to say Bergvall should be our long-term answer as the 6.
Is it crazy question?
Is it crazy? Yeah.
Is it crazy? I don't know. I think he is more of an 8 naturally, but he's done brilliantly in the 6, I have to say. And the fact that he can play there is a great option. Is he a long-term solution then? Mate, he might be. I mean, he might be. I don't think it's crazy considering how he's played there. I just think it would be a shame if he is there, if you know what I mean. Because I just think having him a bit closer, you saw what he did against Liverpool, a bit closer to goal. He's got brilliant finishing as well. I just think if you take that away from him, that would be a bit of a shame. Like, I think you want him a bit more in that middle. So I think it's great that he can play there, but I don't know if long term he should be there all the time. Not because he can't do it, just because I would be ashamed to take that other element away from him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear to see that Bissouma's not fit for purpose for that position, for what we need on a regularity. Can you trust Bentancur as well with, injury after injury? Can you rely on him?
I think short term maybe he has to be.
Yeah, I'd agree with short term, but we're talking about like long term here. Like we need to bring in like a monster 6 that we've been craving for the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Craig Pankhurst says, if Ange wants to survive, I honestly think he needs to change the leadership group and who wears the armband. I mean, everyone talks about leadership and who has the armband on. The reality is, no matter if you have the armband or not, you should be showing signs of leadership. I think Kulusevski has done to a certain extent this season. But, I mean, I look at what do people want from a leader? What does that even look like on the pitch? I don't even know. Because like those days of like the Roy Keanes and the John Terrys and you know, these kind of leaders, they're not in the game. Like, who has a leader like that anymore?
Yeah, I agree with you. Look at Arsenal's captain, Odegaard. He's not exactly like, I'm not saying he's a bad leader. I'm just saying he's not exactly like a Roy the Rovers kind of figure, is he? Look at Man City. Who's their captain at the moment? It was Gundogan, but I don't know who it is now. But again, he's not.
Is it De Bruyne?
Is it De Bruyne? But he's not. I mean, yeah, he'll call out players, but so I've seen some call out players as well on the pitch. People just don't notice it because, you know, he's got that. People consider him just as happy-go-lucky guy, always with a smile, but he definitely has that streak in him as well, Sonny. So I don't know. Clearly, we have a problem on the pitch when things are going against us. Like yesterday, you know, we can see that corner, and then there's no one kind of just making sure we see it to half-time at 1-0. We just allow it to collapse. And that is there's definitely a problem for us at the moment when things are going against us. We can't seem to stem the tide. And that comes to key figures, I think. First of all, the mentality of the team, but also key figures in that leadership group, either not being very good leaders, like not being able to do it, or not kind of putting out the right messages when we are in that kind of moment, because clearly we do have a problem with that. But
if you think that you're just going to magically put the armband on someone else,
exactly,
and things are going to change, I think that's a deluded take.
Exactly, because I think people like Deki and Solanke's also becoming a bit of a leader in that team at the moment. They're like, just because they're not wearing the armband, I don't think Deki is like, I'm not the captain, so I'm not going to say how I feel. I'm pretty sure he does. You know what I mean? So I don't think just who's wearing the armband changes too much.
Mr. Alex THFC says, we're 8 points away from the relegation zone. We are 14 points away from the top 4. West Ham are above us. They sacked their manager and are above us by 2 points. Fulham are 6 points above us. Forest are 17 points above us. We are in a relegation battle. Wake up. This guy is not a Premier League manager. He is terrible. Doesn't matter what players he has at his disposal. He is not cut out for it. We won't go down because the 3 in the relegation zone are that much worse than us. But this is embarrassing, man. Can't go on like this anymore. I can't be arsed. Yes, man. Levy's puppet. Low wage. Perfect for this football club. Good enough for the Australian League. Good enough for the Japanese League. Good enough for the Scottish League. Nowhere near good enough for the Premier League. Goodbye.
I mean, that's at the moment, that is all true. That is all true. There's no denying all of that, because that is the situation. I do think it won't be, but it is right now. So I can't argue against it right now.
Cody Mack, big up Cody, says, I don't know how people can watch that tonight and come away thinking we can win the Europa League. Please send some of your drugs to me, thanks. So Sim, Cody's waiting for a package from you.
Well, we're in also like the semi-final of a Carabao, and we're playing like this. So, you know, who would have said we would be in that position playing like we are? But I just think we can. I think we're a good team set up for two-legged ties in knockout competition. I really believe we can be good in those situations, especially come when the knockouts come. If we are in the top 8, hopefully. That'll be come March, and we could be in a very different look. We could be the situation. Things change very quickly in football, and we could be in a completely different situation come March in terms of form, momentum, and where we're playing. And then all of a sudden, and also Europa League. I know there are some good teams in it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I do think there are also some very beatable teams who we can beat up until maybe the latter stages. So yes, playing like that, we're not going to win Europa League, but it could be a very different situation come March. I really believe that. And I've seen enough when we are playing well that we can cause teams a lot of trouble. We can blow teams away, and that's perfect for knockout football, blowing teams away over 2 legs.
So are we going to win the Europa League?
I don't know if we will, but I think we've got a chance, yeah. I do believe we've got a chance. I'm not ruling it out, 100%. I'm not ruling it out.
Andrew Gaffney says, I know the reaction won't be reasonable and the usual suspects will drag up the form, not the injuries. But based on this game alone, I thought both teams were pretty even over 90 minutes, not sharp enough in the final third, much improved after the break, but the damage was done. I mean, I don't know what game he was watching if he thinks both teams were pretty much even over the course of 90 minutes.
I don't think it was an even game. Arsenal were better, but I also didn't think Arsenal were anything special. I thought they were better than us. They were
But
definitely more
that's even
aggressive than
worse.
us.
That's even worse when you're saying that Arsenal weren't anything special, but still clearly better than us.
Yeah, they were better than us because they're a better defensive unit. Then it's no surprise they're one of the best defensive units in the league. I'd actually thought. Maybe I'm being harsh because I don't think they're anything special going forward, but I actually did think they were pretty good in midfield and in defence. I actually think they did play well, so I probably didn't give enough credit for that because I thought they actually played really good in those aspects. And they are a better team than us. They've been going with Arteta for many more years, and they've built something a lot better than what we've built so far for over 18 months. That's for sure. But for sure in the final third, they weren't great in the final third, to be honest. And obviously the goals they scored, both were extremely preventable, both those goals. So it's not like they did anything special to score. I did think in the final third, both teams were not great in the final third.
Yeah, I mean, that's clearly been Arsenal's problem for, since pretty much Saka's been out, because he's the guy that's bailed them out a lot. And, you would think you could probably make an argument about Romero and Van de Ven as well, but you've seen Spurs not do well with Romero and Van de Ven there as well. But I mean, if Saka was playing yesterday, then it probably would have been a very different story.
Yeah, but I think we could all play that game. I think he wasn't, and that's only one player missing from their front line, and they just didn't look great going forward, I thought.
Luca THFC saying it would be a tragedy if Tottenham decided to sack Ange. He is literally playing with 0 fully fit first-choice defenders away at the Emirates with an 18-year-old midfielder at centre-back. What is he supposed to do? 20 years, the same issue. Manager isn't the problem now. They are.
I think at this point, given the form, I wouldn't go as far as say it's a tragedy because it's very sackable form. I just wouldn't sack him personally. I think I would continue with it, and I think the best course of action is give him some new signings and wait till the players come back and then see if he can turn it around. That would be the best course of action. But I wouldn't go as far as say it'd be a tragedy if he was to sack at this point because look at the form. I mean, that is sackable form. There's no two ways about it. I just think it would be the wrong decision. But I can understand if they think it would be the right decision.
LETHFC saying these are the positives: Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall, Jed Spence and Richarlison.
Yeah, I agree.
Richarlison's got a start, by the way, at Everton.
Against his old club. Do you saw him on the left or up front? He came on the left.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think up front, because I just want to give Solanke a bit of a rest. I think we're just overplaying him. He's running on empty a little bit.
And then does he start again against Hoffenheim?
That's a good point. I didn't take into account the Hoffenheim game. It is a massive game. Yeah, hopefully we have a new signing by then, but I don't know. Probably not. Or even a new signing can't play against Hoffenheim, to be honest.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. I don't know where we go, but I think both Sonny and Solanke and Kulusevski all need to be taking out the firing line.
We just can't afford to take them all out the firing line.
Maybe. Well, I think Mikey Moore starts on Thursday.
That's such a big game, does he?
I would. Well, what's the difference? Like, these players aren't performing anyway, so what's the difference?
Yeah, true.
James Moore says only twice in the Premier League history of Spurs won fewer than 24 points from their first 21 games, 97, 98, 08, 09. That's incredible when you consider how awful Spurs were for most of the 90s.
Yeah, that's true. Back to the 90s. You want our Tottenham back?
Sam says, to be honest, 13 feels like the direction the club would have headed in years ago if it not for Kane and Son.
Yeah, we went through that.
Ben Bowman says, Spence, Gray, Bergvall, hold your heads up high. That's about all the good things I can say. Didn't see anywhere near enough fight from most of those players. Solanke and Decky have been run into the ground and were so poor. This squad needs help. It's not good enough and knackered. Awful. Yeah,
I agree with that. We need help massively, and we're halfway through the month. We need to start getting moving in this window because the games are not letting up. We've still got loads. How many games have we got before the end of Jan?
4.
That's four important games. We need to start getting some players through the door.
Yeah, let's have a look. We've got Hoffenheim, Leicester, Elfsborg. 3 games. We got Brentford the 2nd of Feb.
And then straight off the Feb it's Brentford and Liverpool, and then Villa. Some massive games. We just need help here.
BLTHFC. No. Luca THFC says, another season, another top four and no trophies for Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. Good win for their top four push. We will instead be focusing on our treble since we're still in all the cups.
Come on.
Embarrassing, man.
Winning
BLT.
the treble, believe.
Huh?
Winning the treble.
BLTHFC says Romero, Udogie and Van de Ven coming back to doesn't change the fact that we play a system so reliant on width with wingers that can't beat their man. If anything, Odegaard is the one that we need back the most, and none of us know if he's any good. Shambles.
Yeah, as I've said, I think the wingers are really letting us down at the moment. In just terms of they're just not doing their job, and I think Odegaard would have helped a bit, but I don't think he's the what do you call it, the saviour of our problems. Like, we need someone who's got real world class ability there, and we just don't have it at the moment.
Odegaard is a 19-year-old kid who had one good season for Burnley. You know what I mean? Exactly. Not even like a season to blow anyone away, like a decent season for Burnley. And like, if he's going to be the guy that we're all piling our hopes for to really get us playing Ange ball and in a way that he wants us to and save our season, then I'm sorry, whoever those guys are completely deluded.
No, he's not the saviour. We need a proper winger, like someone proper, which we don't have. Like, at the moment, we have wingers who can do certain things, but they can't do the most important thing, which is when they're asked to create chances in those situations, they just don't do it.
Seb Martin says, individual mistake costing our story of our season. It's honestly just pathetic at times watching this lot. So infuriating. That Bissouma mistake nearly had my TV out of the window. Kinski has to save it. Played ourselves out of the game. We don't come from behind at the Emirates. Yeah,
that's the most frustrating thing, I think, yesterday. And yeah, it's frustrating. I know we weren't good, but the goals we conceded are just so frustrating, that those goals, how they went in. It's not like there was any quality really from Arsenal on either of them. It's just self-inflicted, both goals. Yeah. So annoying. Spurs Web saying, my captain. I'm sure they tweeted that as just after the goal went in. Georgia Killier says, wasn't expecting much today, but I'm just so disappointed in the effort in some of the players. No urgency either, so slow. Yeah, and that was also a problem. There was some occasions where we had like a chance to really go at Arsenal when they were on the back foot, and we just slowed it down and just allowed Arsenal to get back in position. And it's always so much easier for them when they do that. Craig Mitch says 11 defeats in January, and this manager hasn't even got one win over Arsenal in 2 seasons. He's blatantly not that guy. End of the season, we need to get rid and start again. And that might be the case. And I think that if at the end of the season that's the situation, then we do. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying right now we should stick with it. Johnny Blaine, I mean, we've kind of covered that. Let's go to Jack Pitbrook, who says, strange thing about that game is, given Arsenal could have scored a lot, is that Spurs actually had enough openings to nick an equaliser, but looks like Kulusevski and Solanke are running on empty right now. Never had the physical edge over Arsenal's excellent centre-backs. Yeah, and I think the way we play as well, it does rely a lot on, being physically dominant over your opponent, and we just don't have that at the moment. We just can't seem to, especially against a team like Arsenal, just not able to do it. We just don't have that physical profile at the moment in the team. Spurs Jono says, should never have been 2-1, whatever. That's just how it goes against these lot. Yeah, because it probably should have been more than 2-1. I think maybe I don't know what he's talking about. Maybe he's talking about half time, but I don't think anyone can really complain about the result. We can complain about certain things, but the result wasn't undeserved. Talk THFC says 5 points from 27 available, unacceptable. James Moore says Richarlison ended up making more successful crosses than any other Spurs player out there, which was 2, but not convinced that's really what you want from him towards the end of the game. You're losing by 1 goal. Yeah, you need him in the box. That's the truth. And we didn't. I thought he was on the pitch and he's on the left, and we've got Solanke up front. You've got to swing some balls to that back post, get them 2 competing for it, and we just didn't do that enough. We had some times to swing in. There was one moment. Porro has a ball on the right hand side to swing in, and he decides to play it down the line to, I think it was, don't know who it was to, but he plays it down the line, and he goes out and play for a goal kick, and instead of swinging in, and instead of a chance, it's a goal kick to Arsenal. It's just stupid. Spurs Watch, the mentality of our senior players has been pathetic today. Solanke, Son, Kulusevski, Porro just moping around. Archie Gray, on the other hand, showing so much maturity and character. Yeah, we need more players with that kind of mentality that they're showing.
Tottenham Tier says Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall can hold their heads up high with their performances tonight, showing the more experienced players who forget more often than not what playing for Tottenham really means. Yeah, it's pretty much what we've been harping on about all stream. Hotspur Related says Captain Son Heung-min has now scored 4 goals in his last 4 away appearances at Arsenal. Hotspur Related says, oh yeah, we've been through that. Spurs Web saying it's disgraceful, the decision.
Yeah, been through that. I think
the pictures that go hard, just one down, is Sonny shushing the Emirates. Exactly, it would have gone hard, not so hard anymore. Yeah, I think that's it. That is how the internet did react to the 2-1 loss at the Emirates. And we're going to finish off on a Tottenham update. So we're going to line that up for you in a second. And while we're doing that, let's get through into some super chats. Georgiou says, reminder, someone once said painful rebuild. Yeah, this is just too painful, though. It's just way too painful.
A lot of pain.
Jory says, the margins between Spurs and the scum is not fine, and it's only widening. Standards been dropping for years and now dropping faster than ever. Yeah,
I mean, and the gap is massive. There's no doubt about it. Even though Arsenal haven't been great this season, the gap is, they're a much better team than us. There's no doubt about it. So, but nothing to say about that.
Brian Daigle with the super chat, and he says, bring Alfie Devine back now, and starting with Lucas Bergwall and Archie Gray. When the centre-backs are back, they will show fight, passion, desire and professional pride that the senior players don't, I guess.
Maybe. I mean, judging by how the young players are playing now.
But you look at it as well, like Alfie Devine was one of the players that stood up for us in pre-season. Like these players.
He's doing quite well for Westerlo.
Yeah, bring him home is what I say. I agree. Tommy Castillo says, question for Tottenham tie. That's definitely not me. Question for Tottenham tie. What will it take? Relegation? Honestly, come on. Anyway, beers on me if you guys are ever in California. Big up to Tommy, but that's a question for you.
Look, I don't think we're getting relegated. Would it take relegation for me to have him out? No. As I said, we're still in all the cups. I still think, I don't think we're ever going to do anything in the league now, but I don't think we're going to get relegated. I still think we'd just be mid-table, which isn't a good position. But if we could rectify that by doing something in the cups, then that could rectify the situation. Right now, you know, the way we're playing, people saying, oh, how can you expect us to do anything? But I've seen us when we play our best, and we need to do that. And we've been doing that quite a bit in the cups this season, and we just need to salvage the situation with the cups. And I do think the way we play is really good for knockout football. But at the moment, you know, he needs to get to those situations because he might not get there.
If we get relegated in the summer, you'll be like, oh, but we can put away Scunthorpe away in the Championship. You know, we'll get regular results in the Championship. We may as well stick with him.
He gets a trophy. who's the best person to bring us back up? It's Ange. Now, obviously, look, I'm not gonna. At first, we're not getting relegated. I truly believe that. I know people say you're never too big to go down. All these different things. I'll bet anything, anyone, any money, we're not going to get relegated. Okay, I'm certain of that. Obviously, the fact that we're having that conversation is embarrassing, and it should never be. But I do think the results, once players are back, and once if we do get a couple more signings or whatever, will be good enough to keep us away from that situation. We'll probably be mid-table, but the cups are still there. If we finish 10th and get a couple of cups, everyone's going to be happy. And I think, I'm not saying we're going to do it. And obviously, if he doesn't do it, he'll be gone, and he'll have to. And that's the situation. I'm under no illusion that this current form could easily cost him his job in the long term. Anyway, he'll be out the door because of the situation we're in. I'm under no illusion that if we don't win any cups and we finish 10th, he'll be gone. So he's 100%. The pressure's on him to win those trophies. And I'm not saying he's definitely going to do it. I'm just saying I wouldn't completely rule it out how we play.
Do you think, well, what is enough to keep him in his job then? Is just a Europa League win enough to keep him in his job regardless of where we finish in the league? I
think Europa League win, as long as we're not literally between 15th and 17th, if we win Europa League and let's say finish even 14th or 13th,
I would still sack him.
Or does he sack him?
I would still sack him.
If we win Europa League,
I would still sack him.
Get Champions League football next season.
I don't care. Like, you can't finish between 13 and 15th in the league.
Europa League and Carabao.
No, you can't keep him in his job.
I think if you win 2 trophies, that will be enough.
Nah.
For his job.
No, it's not. It's not. You cannot finish 13th or 15th in the league.
A treble.
No, you can't keep him in his job.
So you win a treble, you would sack him.
Yeah, I would.
No, I think that's crazy.
Why?
You win a
You're
treble.
finishing 13th to 15th in the league. It
If
doesn't
you win
matter.
a treble, that absolutely recovers the situation.
No, it doesn't.
Absolutely does.
No, it doesn't.
Absolutely does.
How?
It's 3 cups. That
I
is
don't care.
consistency.
Consistency. You're finishing 15th in the league. What consistency?
3 cups is consistency. I'm not. Look, obviously he's deluded thinking he's going to win a treble. I'm just saying, if he wins a treble, that is absolutely consistency.
If he wins a treble, which is, but first of all, he's not even going to win 1 trophy. But if he does win a treble, yeah, I would say thank you very much for winning us trophies. Probably the best season that we've had in recent years. But if you're finishing,
probably in the Premier League era,
yeah, 100%. But if you're finishing 15th, then that shows to me that you're not here. You're not going to be here for the long term. You can't finish 15th.
I think you'd be crazy to sack a manager for winning a treble. I think you'd be nuts.
Why?
United consistency over
United just won two trophies over the last 2 years and still sacked Ten Hag. Huh?
In a season.
So what? It doesn't matter.
That is consistency in a season. That's 3 different competitions.
Oh my God!
I think you're mad if you were to sack a manager after winning a treble.
It's
treble. Nonsense conversation.
There's context in it though. Like you can't finish 15th and keep your job at Tottenham Hotspur, regardless of what else you do.
Ever going to win a treble ever again?
Well, he probably won't win it again. So that's it. He's the best. That will be his ceiling.
I think it'd be nuts. I guarantee you, at the end of the season, if we've won a treble, that I can guarantee you will not be saying we should sack him.
Yeah, I will.
No, you won't.
Yeah, I will.
You will not.
100% I will.
I mean, look, I can't make a bet with you, but I guarantee you, I'm so certain that if we won a treble, you wouldn't be saying he should be sacked. I can guarantee you. You're saying that now.
Well, regardless, it's not going to happen.
I know it's not going to happen. If we were to win 2 trophies and finish in like 10th, I think that would be fine. If we win Carabao Cup and finish 10th, I would sack him. If we win Europa League and finish 10th, I'll probably keep him. Context. He 100%. His job is dependent on these cups now because the league is just gone, and we're not going to do anything. It's 100% dependent on the cups now, and he has to do something in them. And the pressure's on.
So you're saying 15th in Europa League win, you're keeping him?
15th in Europa League. I think on that basis I might sack him. But if he does Europa League and Carabao and 15th, I'll probably keep him.
All right. Smoondog says, Sim, no offence, you're deluded. Ange out, players out.
All I'm saying is assess it at the end of the season, and you're agreeing.
Yeah, I am agreeing.
So we're in the same position.
But I do think there is things that can happen throughout the season now, from now until, March, that, if he goes out to Liverpool, if he goes out to Liverpool and goes out to Villa in the FA Cup.
If he goes out to Liverpool, would you still give him the end of the season? He said yes.
I'm carrying on. If he goes out to Villa as well and goes out to Liverpool, then what is there? What is there to go on? I just got no confidence in him doing anything in the Europa League.
I still do.
And Daniel Levy says, where is your line in the sand, Sim? Is there one?
Obviously, as I said, if we're like in March time and we're out of all the competitions and we're really seriously in a relegation battle, then I would, that would be my line drawn. You get a firefighter, save us from relegation, and then that would really be DEFCON 5.
Deitch till the end of the season.
Get Deitch in, I don't care. Get Big Sam, and keep us up, and then sack him, whoever it is, the firefighter, and then we go again in the summer. But that's what I would do. But I honestly don't think it'll get to that. I really don't. I know it looks bad now, and I know we're in seriously bad form. I really believe it won't get that bad, and I still got hope for the cup. So that's my position. But that would be my line in the sand. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's finish off this stream on a Tottenham update. Let's see what's doing the news rounds on regarding transfers. First one's not about a transfer. It's about Ange Postecoglou. Alistair Gold says it's understood that Ange Postecoglou retains the full backing of those within the club with an understanding of what he's battling through right now. Spurs are understood to be trying to put in the right structures and people around him to ensure that the Australian can succeed and compete for trophies once the squad comes through this period. I mean, why isn't the structures in place now? Why are they not in place already? He's been here a season and a half. Surely the structure would be in place at the beginning of last season.
If that's well run from a footballing point of view, it would be. But unfortunately, that's the situation. Look, to be fair, I'm kind of glad that that's what they're saying, because they realise that what is current the situation around him isn't good enough for him to succeed, and I think that is that's fair if you're acknowledging that and you're giving him time to fix it and you're trying to get things right. And I think that's what they should be doing. You should be, if you're fully behind a project and you're fully invested in it and you really believe in it, that is what you should be doing. So I'm kind of glad that's the stance they're taking. Obviously, for Spurs fans, you've been waiting 20 years for things to go right for Tottenham and things to them to do the right things. It's very frustrating to have this kind of patience, and we've lost patience, years ago, let alone having patience now. But I do think if you really believe that's the project you should be going for, and you really believe that that's the route you should be taking, and you're not going to waver from it, then that's the stance you should be taking. And so that gives me a bit of encouragement.
The reality is, though, right, like they're saying Spurs are understood to be trying to put the right structures and people around him to ensure that he can succeed, right, and compete for trophies. I mean, that's never been the case in 25 years of ENIC running this club. So, I mean... Exactly.
They said they'd want to put it in place because they don't have it in place. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, but why don't they have it in place? Why have it taken 25 years for them to start thinking about putting it in place? This is ridiculous. Like, Daniel Levy and ENIC, they're not fit for purpose. They're not fit to run this football club. They're not fit. They're fit to run an entertainment business, and that's what we're doing right now. That's all we're doing. And for them to come out a year and a half into the season, into Ange's tenure, and saying, "Oh, we're trying to put the right structures in place," how is that anywhere near good enough?
It's not good enough, but it is what you should be. It is what you should be doing. Sorry, I should say.
Do you buy it though? I mean, like they've probably been saying similar things for 25 years.
The only reason I don't buy whether they can do it. I don't know. I don't buy. Look, I don't buy whether they're capable of putting that structure in place. I completely agree with you on that. I think clearly they've struggled to do it for 25 years, and I don't know whether they can do it now. My only point is, if you are going to believe in that project and you are acknowledging right now that the structure isn't in place, then you should try and put it in place for him, and that is the right course of action. If you believe if you believe this is the right project and the right path to go down, younger players, rebuild, attacking football, all these different things, that's the right course of action they're taking on that front. Now, I completely agree with you. Are they capable of putting those structures in place? I don't know, but if they're acknowledging that the structure isn't in place, they're saying we're going to put the structures in place and give them time. That would be the right course of action. Is my point. That's what I'm saying. But I completely agree with you. Whether it's the right course of action, are they capable of doing it? That the jury's clearly out on that. The answer would be leaning towards no, because they haven't done it for 25 years.
Let's get into some transfer rumours. First up is Brian Mbeumo. RMC Sport claimed that Tottenham, Arsenal and Manchester United have all shortlisted Brian Mbeumo for a transfer target. Brentford would want in excess of 50 million euros for Brian Mbeumo. Obviously an unbelievably talented player. I think he's perfect for us for that right wing. I would love to see him through the door, but I just can't see... Spurs get particularly. I mean, January definitely no chance. In the summer, I think it would cost probably best part of 60-70 million to get him in.
I don't know what's his contract situation, but obviously he's a brilliant player. I said actually before I didn't believe he's maybe the perfect fit for our system, but I might be changing that, because I actually think he's really developed that part of the game where it's not just transition where he's good. He's actually really a lot better. A
year left in the summer.
Also, that's definitely will perk Levy's ears, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think he'd be an excellent addition. He can not only fill in on the right, he can also play up front. You can put him in the front too, and could also do a really good job there. He's improving every year in the Premier League. He's going from strength to strength. I think he's got the mentality to be a real success here. But the problem is, will he think he's maybe onto better things at other clubs, and who else? Look, we'll have to see what situation we are in the summer, but I just can't. Look, Brentford are above us right now, so I just can't see him jumping ship and coming to us mid-season. I think he also knows maybe in the summer, when it's not so chaotic, the window, he can make a clearer decision for where he wants to go. But I do think he's probably on his way out of Brentford. He's been so good, I just can't see him staying there, unless he really wants to run down his contract and leave on a free. So I do think they'll want to sell. Brentford always do sell, to be honest, when it gets to this situation. They'll rather the money than keep Mbeumo. They've always been very clear about that with all their other sales. So I do think he'll be up for sale. But if Arsenal are in for him, if other clubs are in for him, it's, we're going to be difficult to put our hat in the ring. But look, if it comes to other teams, mid-table teams, I think we could be a good option. We could be a good sell. But if Arsenal are coming in, I just can't see us.
We're a good mid-table option. We're a good mid-table option for Brian Mbeumo, but I would love to see him through the door. I just see it's very highly unlikely. I love watching him play. I think he's such a good player, and like you say, he just keeps improving.
But it's another player where people say, if you're signing players from Brentford, that's who you turn into. But it's another case where he's clearly could be a top 6 player. Just because he's playing for a mid-table team doesn't mean like he's not good enough.
Yeah, the difference is that the players that we signed from kind of teams at the bottom are all below us. Brentford are actually above us.
Yeah, that's also true.
Next up, we're going to talk about Milan Skriniar. L'Equipe are saying Skriniar will decide his next club between 4 clubs: Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, Aston Villa and Tottenham Hotspur, with Spurs now showing real desire to sign him. PSG want a loan deal with a buy option that is easily triggered. I mean, I wouldn't want to see Skriniar here with on a permanent. I think a loan from now until the end of the season would be great, but in terms of a buy option that's easily triggered, I don't think that's something that we should be doing.
No, I agree. I think a loan with an option, just in case we really believe he can do something for us in the long term. I think logically, would he fit the system? I don't know. I think logically, does he have the pace? Is he good enough on the ball? These are all different questions.
He doesn't have the pace. He's slow, man.
Yeah, he's not the quickest. And is he good enough on the ball? So he was at his best when he was in a back 3 with Inter. Albeit he also had a good partnership at times with De Vrij, but I think that was when he's at his best. Hasn't worked out at PSG, who like to play a possession-based system. But he's also a very good centre-back. There's no getting away from it. And would he help us right now in the current crisis? 100%. I think he would still be better than probably Dragic and Gray at the back. So
another player 5 years too late.
He would be helping us. No, he's only, 32, 31?
Yeah, but, he can't get into the PSG team, can he?
Yeah, but I don't know why, but when the PSG signed him a couple of years ago, he was still.
He's only 29.
Oh, yeah, he's 29, so he's not old.
He's played 5 games for PSG this season.
Yeah, I don't think he's a finished player though. For one reason or another, they feel like he doesn't suit them. I
think in the system that we play, I think he'll get found out massively.
Maybe, but I still think he'd be better options than what we got right now.
To be honest, I'm looking at the way Skriniar plays. I actually probably prefer to play Archie Gray, that centre back, than Skriniar.
I think he'd be better than Gray.
He'll play a high line and he'll just get caught out. I mean, he's so slow.
I think he'd do a better job than Gray right now, and also gives you the option.
If we sat back a bit more,
if you put Van der Ven there on the left and put Skriniar in the middle, it gives you that option as well. I think a short-term loan would be brilliant, and I think it would help us. But I just don't think, I'm not convinced if we sign him permanently that we wouldn't want looking to shift him soon. So I would put a buy option in there just in case he comes in and actually surprises us. But I think a loan for sure would be the best bet.
And last but not least, Sport are claiming that Tottenham are attempting to sign Barcelona forward Ansu Fati on loan. The player has already received 2 proposals from Premier League clubs. And if we're worried about getting players on the pitch, then Ansu Fati is probably not the best choice of action, because he's a player that obviously has talent coming through Barcelona and everything, but the guy can't stay fit. So, I mean, I just don't see a point to this one.
He wasn't good at Brighton, was he? So he couldn't stay fit at Brighton. Even when he was playing, he wasn't exactly amazing. He was all right in the Europa League mostly, but wasn't exactly amazing. Definitely no. Definitely. I think it'd be the last player we should be going for. Another injury-prone player. I think that'd be the last thing we should be doing.
All right. Well, there you have it. That is your Tottenham update. That is your stream done and dusted. We'll be back tomorrow for more Spurs content. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.